An unprecedentedly heinous crime has just taken place right in a highly confidential detention center. At midnight, when the entire prison was silent, a series of unusual sounds suddenly emanated from a room. The shift supervisor quickly approached to investigate the situation. But the moment the cell door opened, this man was completely stunned by the horrific sight. All the prisoners inside the room had been wiped out. The officer was about to sound the emergency alarm to call for help, but before he could act, a mysterious dark figure suddenly sprang up and lunged straight at the guard, knocking him down in an instant. That deranged villain was inmate number 2006. He heartlessly took the lives of 7 fellow prisoners and a guard just to find satisfaction. The very next day, news of this horrific tragedy spread throughout society. Public opinion was so shocked and outraged that people took to the streets in droves demanding the immediate execution of this evil man. Seeing the opportune moment, a politician running for president immediately voiced his support for the crowd. He loudly declared his support for the reinstatement of the death penalty, something that the current leader had abolished. The prosecution, which usually interferes in political matters, also sided with that politician. They wanted to quickly present the proposal to execute the man with code number 2006 to the court. Judge Sohan was trusted by his superiors because he was in charge of this case file. However, he resolutely refused the offer because he did not want to get involved in factional intrigues. Just as he left his office, he accidentally ran into his twin brother. That person was Yuzin, a very famous detective fiction author. Since the incident, Chae Yuzin's family has chosen to use their parents' surname. This time, he proactively sought out his brother to inform him about his upcoming special plan. The tycoon at the head of the Horn Group directly offered him a stay at his private mansion for 1 month. The purpose of the trip was to write and compile a memoir of his glorious life. His brother, a prosecutor, did not object but only offered a few kind words of advice before parting ways. However, the real motive behind the young writer accepting this invitation contained a shocking secret. On a stormy evening earlier, he inadvertently came across an anonymous letter mentioning the mysterious death of his adoptive father. This heartbreaking event, which occurred 22 years ago, is believed to be directly linked to the Ha-Sung forces. The core objective that Yuzin is determined to hunt down here is the violent weapon from the past, codenamed Adam. A few days later, author Ha began his journey to the private residence of the powerful tycoon. The moment he reached the entrance, he was overwhelmed by the magnificent building. A dense network of security cameras and patrols was stationed day and night. A man with an expressionless face quickly approached to greet the young writer. He demanded that he hand over all his personal belongings and data transmission equipment. Next, he had to undergo a body scan for secure record keeping. Only after completing these rigorous checks could he move around the building. Then he was led to an audience with a person holding supreme authority there, the housekeeper. When the tycoon is not at the mansion, all the power rests with this woman. All rules here are supreme, and those below are only allowed to obey and have no right to question them. The young writer, who came here for a book project, proactively expressed his desire to meet the owner. However, she coldly responded that the current boss was not yet back and gave him the choice of waiting or leaving immediately. With no better option, the author, Mr. Ha, had no choice but to quietly move back to his resting area. A waitress was assigned to guide him, but throughout the journey she maintained a hesitant and evasive attitude. Wanting to learn more information, he proactively initiated a conversation with his companion. The female employee immediately gave a serious warning about 2 core taboos in the building. The first rule is that you are not allowed to initiate a conversation with anyone unless they speak first. The remaining top secret was that absolutely no one was allowed to set foot on the 3rd floor, which was the young master's living quarters. For a mind dedicated to creating crime stories, these rules were truly irritating. But author Ha still agreed. Upon entering his private space, Yuan was surprised to find a familiar figure waiting. It was the young apprentice from years ago whom he had taught writing skills. The young man explained that he was fortunate to have been recommended and personally approved by the billionaire to join. His role on this trip was to be a valuable assistant to his mentor in completing the manuscript. He also mentioned the castle's extremely rigorous vetting process for those seeking entry. All personal data was exposed to the point that even the writer's eating preferences were known and catered to meticulously. While the 2 teacher and student were engrossed in discussion, they suddenly noticed a faint shadow imprinted in the space under the entrance. As expected, the person standing outside secretly observing the situation was the woman who managed the house. Noticing something unusual, he immediately signaled his subordinates to stop discussing the mansion. As night fell, the young writer could not suppress his curiosity about the billionaire's office. This place was rumored among all the servants in the building to be an inviolable area. Music. On his silent approach to that room, Yuan inadvertently witnessed a horrifying scene of a girl. Her body was constantly convulsing with violent spasms in her arms and legs. He panicked, seeking help from those around him to save the victim. Contrary to his anxiety, the servant's attitude was extremely nonchalant and cold. The situation only changed slightly when the female manager stepped forward and coldly ordered the guards to take the person away. Witnessing the reaction of the servants, Author Ha realized that they all maintained a terrifying indifference. Perhaps living in Jinko for too long had made them numb to the misfortunes of their fellow human beings. Or, a more terrifying hypothesis is that the lives of the servant class here are completely disregarded. At dawn, the young writer proactively warned his assistant to quickly pack his bags and leave. He revealed that he had come here to search for the Adamas treasure, not to write literature. Although he knew that this journey was fraught with danger, the subordinate remained extremely resolute. The young man refused to withdraw because of the extremely large sum of money he had received, and did not want to give up halfway. At that moment, Yuan noticed a strangely shaped flower neatly placed on a table. Receiving a shake of the head from his student, he knew this creature had been picked by a servant from the grounds of the building and brought in. The young writer immediately left the room to search for clues leading to the royal garden of the mansion. At this place, he was extremely surprised to see a series of similar flowers blooming. These were a type of poisonous plant that was strictly prohibited by law from being cultivated and used widely. At this moment, the woman responsible for tending the garden also unexpectedly appeared before him. This person is none other than the aristocratic daughter-in-law of the powerful tycoon at the head of the corporation. When questioned by Author Ha about the origin of this dangerous creature, she only responded with a cold attitude. The woman declared that this was her own territory, so she decided entirely what to plant. Seizing the opportunity, Yuan cleverly inquired further about the life of the powerful chairman. Instead of answering the question, the noble daughter-in-law gave a subtle reminder about the true master of the mansion. She revealed that the military chairman had officially returned to the building and that he was certainly not an easy opponent to deal with. However, Yuan showed no fear or anxiety whatsoever. His face showed a calm expression, as if he had anticipated all the dangers beforehand. At that very moment, the military chairman had just disembarked from his private plane. As soon as he arrived, he immediately called him into his private office. The tyrannical father immediately questioned him about the contents of the book without any prior preparation. The author, Mr. Ha, had to confess that he had not gathered any information at all. Hearing this, the chairman burst into laughter and mentioned that he had just met his daughter-in-law. He asserted that he controlled the entire mansion so no one could hide anything from him. Knowing he couldn't deny it, Yuan admitted to having spoken but hadn't been able to get any information out of her. The billionaire then slowly said that his daughter-in-law hated strangers, but she actually spoke to Yuan, which made him extremely suspicious. He ordered Yuan to follow her and report back on all her movements. Author Ha immediately refused the offer and wanted to cancel the book. But Chairman Quan was not angry at all, but rather seemed very pleased with that attitude. The tycoon forced him to stay and finish the novel because he was very fond of people with strong personalities. Signing had to pretend to compromise in order to continue staying at the mansion to find his real target. In another development, journalists have proactively arranged a meeting with the prosecutor. She wanted to ask him to reopen the case file related to prisoner number 2006. The female reporter did not accept a politician using this as a stepping stone to advance his career. She strongly opposed the act of deceiving the public with their fake tears. During the conversation, the girl mentioned that prisoner number 2006 had previously been convicted of harming the prosecutor's adoptive father, but the unusual detail is that the weapon used in the brutal attack has completely disappeared. The female reporter questioned whether he had doubts about a wrongful conviction and the mysterious death of his relative. Despite these provocative remarks, prosecutor Yuan Song remained extremely firm and resolutely refused to intervene in the factional struggle. Deep down, he was convinced that the real culprit was the criminal with code number 2006. If the law allowed it, he would have even personally brought that person to justice for what he had done. Hearing those harsh words, journalists say he became extremely angry and turned his back and left. However, her arguments had begun to stir up suspicion in his heart. In his mind, he began to search through old information about the murder of his foster father years ago. As the female journalist said, the murder weapon had not yet appeared. This suspicion arose, making him wonder if the real killer was someone else still at large. At dawn the next day, a patrol car suddenly parked right in front of the mansion's entrance. The entire security force began murmuring about the government agency coming to request funding. After the director finished speaking, the head of the building's security department personally came out to greet them. However, no one knew that behind that polite demeanor, he was an undercover police officer on a secret mission. Through a conversation with law enforcement, Director Choi realized he had just received an anonymous email. The content inside the email was just a string of extremely mysterious and strange characters. Even so, the head of the security team was still unable to decipher the hidden message behind that string of characters. Upon returning to the control room, Director Choi accidentally saw a book left behind by a subordinate. Coincidentally, the work belonged to an author surnamed Ha. Even more surprising was that the title on the cover perfectly matched the coded message in the email. Director Choi immediately realized that the person behind the mysterious letter was none other than the writer UIN. In another development, when UIN returned to his private space, he saw his work on the table. Music. He realized someone had deliberately left a special symbol along with a request to meet in the empty plot of land behind the mansion. Without hesitation, UIN immediately moved to the agreed meeting place in that desolate area. At that location, Director Choi was waiting with a dangerous weapon always ready with ammunition. The head of the security force questioned the opponent's true identity. Facing this extremely perilous situation, Van Ha remained remarkably calm. He slowly responded that he understood very well the undercover police work of the other party. Immediately afterwards, Yuzin proactively proposed a secret deal between the two. The young author asserted that his appearance here was for a priceless treasure, not money. His only request was that Director Choi temporarily conceal his whereabouts. Hearing this crazy request, the head of the security team immediately asked about the item he was looking for. Without hesitation, UIN frankly declared his goal was to steal the Adamas weapon. He revealed more about the anonymous letter and believed that the mysterious person was leading him to find the treasure. The head of the security team also had a special reason to hide at this mansion. As soon as he finished speaking, Director Choi's gun was pointed directly at Yuzin. The man declared that he had to eliminate the witness to protect his national secrets. Nevertheless, Yuzin remained calm and questioned the murder to silence witnesses. That statement startled Director Choi, who turned around and saw the military chairman's daughter-in-law behind him. The noblewoman silently observed the two with suspicion clearly visible on her face. This incident was soon discovered by the military chairman's spies, so he summoned all three for questioning. However, they conspired to give a consistent explanation to deceive the billionaire. Although they fooled their boss, the old housekeeper still harbored great suspicion. She didn't believe that the three of them being at the edge of the forest was just a coincidence. Faced with the housekeeper's excessive scrutiny, the billionaire began to show anger. He angrily asked who was the most powerful person at this residence. The threat made the manager fearful, bowing his head and not daring to utter another word. Thanks to the supreme authority of the military chairman, the trouble at the edge of the forest was quelled. In another development, Prosecutor Song proactively sought out journalist He. It seems her previous arguments have begun to influence his thinking. He frankly questioned why she wanted to reopen the murder case of his foster father from years ago. In response to that question, the female reporter remained silent for a moment before saying that he already had the answer himself. The law enforcement officer was still puzzled about the long-lost murder weapon. He argued that all the evidence and testimony in court pointed directly to culprit number 2006. The female journalist immediately countered by asking whether witnesses are always telling the truth. Noticing his curiosity, the girl then presented a very convincing argument. At the trial years ago, the witness asserted that the perpetrator wore clothing in two colors, blue and red. However, upon verification, she discovered that this person actually suffered from color vision disorder. It was illogical for someone who couldn't distinguish colors to be able to see everything in the dark. This crucial detail was the key to reopening the long-buried case file. Recognizing the anomaly, the prosecutor immediately set out to meet the witness from years ago. Upon arrival, the law enforcement officer introduced himself as the son of the victim from years ago. He mentioned the shocking case that occurred more than 2 decades ago in which he had been brought to court. The witness appeared extremely anxious and puzzled, as the matter had long since been closed. Prosecutor Song asserted that he had discovered an anomaly and then presented the file. He asked the man opposite him to carefully examine the highlighted sections. Just as the other person was looking at the paper for a few seconds, He spoke up and asked them to stop. It turned out this was just a psychological tactic to expose the testimony of the witness from years ago. He questioned why Bao himself read the red text but the other person looked at the blue line. Caught off guard, the man awkwardly tried to make excuses but was immediately silenced. The prosecutor insisted that the man suffered from color blindness and therefore could not distinguish the clothing. Knowing he could not deny it, he bowed his head and admitted that he had a visual impairment since childhood. However, he still insisted that he had seen the victim and the perpetrator enter the house together. The man further argued that the perpetrator had long since confessed. He begged the law enforcement officers to spare his family so they could live in peace. Witnessing the fear of the witness and his disabled wife, the prosecutor seemed to guess the truth. He decided to end the conversation there and quietly left the house. When they got to the car, he frankly discussed with the female journalist the possibility that the witness had been intimidated. He wondered why the girl had poured so much heart into the murder of her relative. The female reporter unhesitatingly declared that she completely believed the perpetrator was wrongly accused. Meanwhile, the head of security was stealthily moving deeper into the forest. He was extremely cautious, observing his surroundings to ensure no spies were following him. Reaching a dense thicket, the man used a secret communication device to connect to headquarters. Director Choi reported that his identity as an undercover police officer on duty had been discovered. He further emphasized that Author Ha was planning to seize that valuable weapon. The head of the security team feared that the young writer's actions would ruin the entire secret plan. The head of the security department wanted to request instructions to eliminate the UIN, but the superiors refused. That hasty action could trigger a stoppage that would affect the top-secret mission. The superiors ordered that the young writer be allowed to act as long as it did not harm the organization. Meanwhile, Author Ha was still relentlessly searching for the whereabouts of the precious weapon. He went to the sealed area of the mansion, but the door was locked very tightly. In this difficult situation, the daughter-in-law of the military chairman suddenly arrived. However, she deliberately ignored the other party's suspicious behavior to help him conceal it. The noblewoman advised him to leave immediately before the security forces discovered him. As UIN walked past her, the detection device on her suddenly emitted a sound. The quick-witted young writer cleverly fabricated a story, claiming he had suffered an injury and needed pins to fix his bones. Hearing this plausible explanation, the daughter-in-law of the wealthy family remained silent and let him leave. This act of concealment was inadvertently witnessed by a servant in the DH mansion. She immediately reported everything she had witnessed to the housekeeper. The strict manager immediately ordered the maid to keep a close eye on Author Ha at all times. In another development, Yuzin tried to break into the billionaire's study. He found a secret passage and was trying to unlock it when the military chairman suddenly walked in. The quick-witted young writer cleverly used the excuse of wanting a face-to-face conversation to seek inspiration for his new work. This plausible lie helped him successfully dispel the suspicion of the head of the corporation. Then the big businessman began reminiscing about the early days of building the Hong Empire. This was originally the largest military equipment manufacturing empire in South Korea. However, due to its origins in Japan, the business was once shunned by the government in its home country. However, with their intelligence, the first founders created the Adams Diamond Arrow, announcing it to the whole world, causing a huge shock to the Hong Group and establishing its foothold in Korea. Because once Korea intended to eliminate the group, many countries were ready to invest and lure Hong to their side. It's important to know which country had the military advantage at that time, as that country would have a very strong voice. Now the writer wants to see the Diamond Arrow to write the article in as much detail as possible. However, the military chairman only showed him a picture and promised to show him in person next time. UIN understood that this was a polite refusal, and he didn't say anything more when he left the military chairman's office. Writer Ha discovers the maid is spying on him. Knowing this is the housekeeper's instruction, UIN takes the maid to confront her. Although the housekeeper is still resentful of Writer Ha, she uses a tactic of killing a chicken to scare the monkey. She takes out a bottle of rat poison and tells the maid to drink it. This is the punishment for someone who messes up. Mr. Ha is no pushover either. I really want to build good relationships with everyone in the house, but if the housekeeper wants to cause trouble, I won't mind a confrontation. After saying that, Mr. Ha left, leaving the housekeeper clutching her stomach in anger. That evening, the chairman's secretary returned with a stack of documents. It turns out the housekeeper was investigating the Wen Ha family. She wanted to see if UIN had really had metal implants in his hand or if he was hiding something else. But the results only angered her more. Everything the Wen Ha family said was true. She brought the results to UIN and threw them straight in his face. How on earth did he manage to hide it? Writer Ha didn't understand what was happening until the housekeeper left. Then he picked up the documents. Only then did he realize she was investigating him. But someone had helped him falsify his medical records. Writer Ha immediately thought of someone and then went to find the chairman's daughter-in-law. Because his medical records were obtained from her father's hospital. The only person who could have helped UIN conceal it was his daughter-in-law. Then Writer Ha stated his reasoning. Was it you who sent me the anonymous letter? Why did you suggest Adamas to me? The daughter-in-law did not deny that I was the one who sent the letter to him. The reason I mentioned Adamas to him is because my late husband said that Adamas was once used to execute people. My husband is currently in critical condition due to a plane crash, probably because he knew this secret. UIN wondered if she suspected her father-in-law was the one who attacked her husband. The daughter-in-law truly suspected Chairman Kwan. To protect the Horn Group, my father-in-law would stop at nothing, even sacrificing his own son. So you want me to expose Chairman Kwan and the Ha-Sun Group? Yes, as long as you can find Adam. Mr. Van Ha wants his daughter-in-law's help, and she doesn't refuse because they are currently on the ship. Now Yusin has one more question. So was it you who wrote the letter of introduction for me to come here to write novels for the chairman? The daughter-in-law denies it. It's someone else. So there's a mysterious person in this villa who's opposing the chairman? I don't know their purpose, but the person who helped you get in here is definitely someone close to the chairman. So we need to lure that person out and bring them to our side. At this moment, the chairman called the housekeeper over. He knew that she had secretly used her private secretary to investigate Wen Ha's house. The chairman was extremely annoyed. It seemed the housekeeper had been too harsh on Wen Ha. The housekeeper explained, I really find him very suspicious. She spoke incoherently, making the chairman so angry that he threw a book straight at the housekeeper's head, injuring her. I don't know who's really in charge in this house anymore. The housekeeper bowed her head and apologized to the chairman, forbidding her from following him. He's my guest, don't bother him anymore. The housekeeper had no other choice but to agree to go outside. Only then did she dare to vent her frustration, saying, You'll see what I can do to you. On the other side, the prosecutor returned home, when suddenly someone opened the door and entered behind him. Entering the double room, Hyen turned on the TV to watch the news about an unexpected case. The couple who were witnesses he had met that morning had both jumped from the building. Surely this was no coincidence. Suddenly, a dark figure appeared in the prosecutor's house. Who are you and what is your purpose in coming here? The person who appeared was reporter Kim with a distraught face. The prosecutor asked her what was wrong. Unexpectedly, so he said that she was the one who caused her biological parents to log out. It turned out that reporter Kim was the daughter of the witness couple. Her bringing Song Shu Hyen to their house to question them about the case from 22 years ago indirectly caused her parents' death, so now say he is very remorseful. After hearing this, the prosecutor decided to take reporter Kim away to calm her down, but before they had gone far, she told him to pull over. Now Song Shu Hyen said she would help He find the culprit and deal with it. But reporter Kim was afraid he would be in danger because of his parents, so he disagreed. I'll handle this myself. I shouldn't have come to see you in the first place. Song Shu Hyen comforted me, knowing that she was very confused right now, but after her parents left, she came to find me, proving that I am currently the person she trusts the most. We cannot let her parents be wronged. Finally, Prosecutor Song also convinced He. They will work together to uncover the truth of the case. On the other side, Director Choi went to see Writer Ha, asking him to leave the chairman's villa because he feared he would ruin the Special Task Force's plan, but he disagreed, insisting on finding Adam. Director Choi then threatened, if that's the case, I'll have to deal with the person who silenced him. Suddenly, the writer started convulsing repeatedly. Director Choi thought the housekeeper had put rat poison in him and hurriedly searched for an antidote. Rat poison can be neutralized by a type of vitamin K. When Director Choi found out, he saw UIN safe and sound. It turned out he was just testing Director Choi. He wanted me to log out but was worried about finding an antidote for me. Director Choi couldn't say anything and left. Mr. Ha also followed him to the garden. Only then did he tell Director Choi the reason he needed to find Adamas so badly, because it could be the weapon used to kill Yuan's stepfather. I want to find the person who harmed my father and the reason behind his death. The writer doesn't need Director Choi's help. He does his work, I do mine. We are like two separate rivers that don't interfere with each other's affairs. Director Choi agreed to let things end there. The next day, the chairman's daughter-in-law received a letter. After reading it, she immediately ran to the writer's room. Unexpectedly, UIN directly asked his daughter-in-law to steal the diamond arrow. This made her extremely angry. Didn't we agree beforehand that I could only help you conceal your actions in this house, not help you find Adamas? Now you wants to express his suspicions. She wrote an anonymous letter luring me here to find Adamas, even saying it was the murder weapon. My father must already know who the real killer is. Tell me the answer. The daughter-in-law tore up the letter that the Van Haar family had sent that morning. This is my answer. After saying that, she turned and left. The relationship between the two people on the same side became tense again. After the daughter-in-law left, UIN threw the torn letter into the trash can. Unexpectedly, the housekeeper came to see him, and she happily announced that he was about to leave this house. The chairman is planning a long vacation with his daughter-in-law. The novel he commissioned writer Ha to write will also be put on hold, and is about to be kicked out of this villa. After saying that, the housekeeper left triumphantly. Writer Ha is so anxious. Will his plan to steal Adamas fall apart? That's unacceptable. UN ran to the chairman's daughter-in-law's room to ask her to find a way to help him stay there to continue carrying out his plan. But it was the daughter-in-law who suggested to the chairman the vacation to avoid further entanglement with Writer Ha. Now UIN takes out a tape recording and uses it to threaten the chairman's daughter-in-law. What would happen if the chairman heard all our previous conversations? The daughter-in-law, on the contrary, showed no signs of worry. I know you wouldn't dare do that to me. The chairman will consider whether or not to take action. Because I can't leave this villa. The chairman's affairs will never get out. But with an outsider like you, I'm not so sure. After hearing this, UIN returned to her room helplessly. By chance, the student told him something he had accidentally overheard, a conversation between the chairman and the mute secretary. Because he understood sign language, the student knew what they were saying. Unexpectedly, the military chairman was plotting a major scheme, using armed force to help a candidate gain power in the upcoming presidential election. Even more surprisingly, the writer dared to bring this matter up to the chairman. He threatened to deal with both of them, making the student almost wet his pants. Luckily, it was just a joke. UIN wanted to gamble on knowing the military chairman's secret to get him to keep him in the villa. A risky move, a gamble with his life, but it actually worked. He and the student were held captive in the villa by the military chairman until the election was over. The housekeeper, upon hearing this news, was furious and rushed to Wenha's room, but he wasn't there. She went berserk, smashing things. Why hadn't this scoundrel been kicked out? Accidentally, the housekeeper saw a torn letter fall from the trash can. Meanwhile, when Ha was meeting Director Choi in the forest, the security system in the surveillance room detected two people together. Now, I want to talk about the military chairman's plan to arm people in the upcoming election so that his people will take the presidency. Perhaps this is why Agent Choi is hiding in this villa. Since you found out, I have nothing more to hide. Perhaps after the presidential election, it will be legalized for people to carry weapons in public. The Horn Group, which will be the intermediary benefiting from the arms and ammunition trade with the Korean people, will become more difficult to control than ever before and must be stopped. UIN asked Director Choi if he had found a way yet. If he found a way, perhaps he wouldn't have to hide. After 2 years here, Director Choi was getting annoyed. You don't know what the military chairman can do. He also has a powerful force. According to intelligence from headquarters, those people are called Team A, and they are monitoring your brother. Your brother is also starting to investigate the disappearance of his stepfather. 22 years ago, the writer was extremely surprised to hear this. He still thought only he knew the secret behind his father's death, but unexpectedly his brother also knew. Then you said to Director Choi, so from now on, we'll be the neutral party. Follow my plan. Director Choi wondered what his plan was. Find Adam and hold the military chairman responsible for my stepfather's death. Director Choi wondered why he was so sure the chairman had attacked his father. Because someone revealed to me that the person who took out the audio recording was the chairman's daughter-in-law. After hearing this, Director Choi was also extremely surprised. On the other side, the prosecutor went to the funeral of reporter Kim's parents. After the memorial service, the two sat and talked. She explained why she had come to see the prosecutor and told him that prisoner 2006 was not the one who killed his stepfather, because she had seen the real killer's face when she was a child. Then reporter Kim Fak drew a portrait of the killer and gave it to Song Shu-hyun. I know someone who can help you identify the killer. After hearing this from the prosecutor, he drove to meet that person, unaware that someone was following him. At this time, Song Shu-hyun went to the prison to find prisoner 2006. The person reporter Kim mentioned was him, because prisoner 2006 was an accomplice in the case of Soo-yeon's stepfather being prosecuted. He would recognize the real culprit. But when the prosecutor presented the sketch, prisoner 2006 claimed he had never met this person. Then the prosecutor said he was the son of the person prisoner 2006 had prosecuted. He also began to recall Soo-yeon's appearance as a child. I will definitely make him pay. Returning to reality after learning the prosecutor's identity, prisoner 2006 seemed to be hesitating about something. I know you are innocent. If you truly feel guilty, please help me find the person who killed my father. However, in the end, prisoner 2006 still refused to speak. The prosecutor angrily stood up. Although he didn't say anything, I was determined to find out the truth. At this time, the writer returned from the forest and met his daughter-in-law. She came to congratulate Yuan because he had found a way to stay in the house. She praised him for his courage in daring to risk his life. He is unlike his brother. He doesn't even dare to come to this villa, but the Van Ha family was the one who foresaw it. Yuan hid the letter from Soo-yeon and came here alone. In fact, the Van Ha family knew the secret about their stepfather's departure beforehand because their mother had told him. Even more unexpected is that prisoner 2006 is actually the biological father of the two brothers. But until now, only Yuan knew. Back to reality, the writer Ha wanted his daughter-in-law to leave his brother alone. Don't drag him into this mess. The daughter-in-law just laughed it off. The next day, the writer Ha continued searching around the house. He went to the room on the third floor again. This time, the daughter-in-law appeared directly for him to check, but there was absolutely no diamond arrow there. Now, he begged her to forget about what happened the day before. He really needed his daughter-in-law's help to carry out his plan. Actually, she didn't hold a grudge about the argument the other day, but she insisted on only helping him conceal his whereabouts. As for finding Adamus, she wouldn't get involved. Mr. Ha didn't want to argue any further. I agreed with her suggestion. Then the daughter-in-law led Yuan on a tour of the villa. It was like a museum displaying only expensive items. Mr. Ha noticed the fire detection system, but it didn't seem to be connected to the sprinkler system. Yuan brought this question to Director Choi. He told him that the villa's fire extinguishing system didn't use water but halogen gas. The military chairman feared that valuable treasures would be damaged every time the fire alarm system was activated. After 3 minutes, all the doors would close. People inside only had that much time to escape. Then the halogen gas sprayer will completely cover the entire house. After hearing this, the writer came up with a plan. He would take advantage of the fire alarm system during those 3 minutes to steal Adam. But I need the help of Director Choi. The surveillance system will detect my location. Please turn it off as soon as the fire alarm sounds. However, Director Choi has not yet agreed. Time is too short. You could be locked inside the house. Besides, we don't even know where Adamus is, or whether it will be easy to get it out. Let's deal with that later. Right now, I need the director's approval. The election is coming up. We don't have much time left. Director Choi still disagreed. Your plan is too dangerous. If we fail, both you and I will have to log out, and the organization's plan will be ruined. Will my 2 years of preparation be in vain? After saying that, Director Choi turned and left. Their conversation was accidentally overheard by the housekeeper. At that moment, the student happened to pass by her, and he led the housekeeper into the room to talk. It turned out that the housekeeper had helped the student's father pay the hospital bills and move him to a VIP room, so he wanted to thank her. But in this world, nobody gives anything for free. The housekeeper gave a sinister smile. Do me a favor, and I'll pay for your father's surgery. Who knows what the housekeeper is up to now? However, after calling his mother and learning that his father's condition had worsened since moving to the VIP room, the student angrily went to find the housekeeper, but was accidentally seen by her daughter-in-law. At that moment, in the housekeeper's room, the student asked her why she had treated his father that way. It turned out that earlier she had asked the student to help her keep an eye on the writer, but he didn't want to betray his teacher. Even now, when the housekeeper threatened his father's life, the student still refused to compromise. Then he angrily left. At this time, the chairman came to see his second son. He wanted to retire and hand over the gun to his son. This greatly surprised the second son. However, after his father left, he gave a sinister smile. The Ha-Sung Corporation should have belonged to the eldest son, but when the chairman wanted to hand it over to him, the eldest son flatly refused. He knew all the dirty deeds Ha-Sung had done and didn't want to follow in his father's footsteps. Perhaps this is why the chairman's eldest son was in a plane crash. On the other side, these two were talking. The man in black is the captain of Team A of the Horn Group. The other man is a prison guard at Prison Camp 2006. The prison guard reported to the captain that the prosecutor had finished meeting with prisoner 2006. He said that Suyeon had a sketch of the perpetrator of the crime from 22 years ago. Unexpectedly, Prosecutor Song knew the captain's name was the real culprit who dealt with his stepfather, but the witness couple had all been dealt with, so who would remember his face anymore? The captain smiled sinisterly. Only the couple's daughter remained. Unexpectedly, reporter Kim was the real witness to the case from 22 years ago. At that time, she was only 30 years old. Her father, to protect her, testified but gave false testimony because he was threatened. After regretting what she had done, she asked the prosecutor to reinvestigate the case. She told all of this to prisoner 2006. Please help us catch the real culprit. You're innocent, aren't you? Prisoner 2006 told her to stop what she was doing, otherwise both she and the prosecutor would be in danger. Then he stood up and left. Reporter Kim Kwa-Quiet said, "I will definitely find the culprit to clear your name. He killed my parents." Hearing this, prisoner 2006 paused for a moment, surprised that they had attacked a witness. At this time, Writer Ha went to see Director Choi again to ask for help. He told UIN that the housekeeper found a letter in his room and discovered there was a spy in the villa. The housekeeper was waiting for the military chairman to return to report, and if that happened, the chairman would be more vigilant and it would be very difficult for us to act. Now Director Choi agreed to participate in UIN's plan to create a fake fire for testing. Then, taking advantage of the chef's absence, Director Choi went to the kitchen and tried some tricks with the fire alarm system. Unfortunately, the head chef returned too early, and he was almost caught. Suddenly, the writer came and distracted the chef, giving Director Choi a chance to escape. After that, Director Choi went back to the control room and activated the fire alarm system, causing everyone in the villa to panic and evacuate. The writer took the opportunity to go to the chairman's office to find Adamus. But it turned out that the office he had found earlier was fake. UIN hurriedly ran outside. However, everyone noticed that the mute secretary was missing. The housekeeper tricked the writer into saying that she was in the chairman's office tidying up documents for him. But it turned out that the secretary was waiting for the chairman to return. Writer Ha Mao returned to the chairman's office to rescue Secretary Kan. By the time he realized he had been tricked, it was too late. The automatic door had closed tightly. The halogen gas machine started working. Writer Ha tried to find a way out but couldn't. He was suffocated by the gas and fell to the ground. At that moment, he also discovered the location of Adamus's hiding place. On this side, the daughter-in-law, knowing that the housekeeper was deceiving UIN, hurriedly ran to the bodyguard and asked him to turn off the fire alarm system. Van Ha's family was still inside, and Director Choi was surprised, wondering what he was still doing in there. Director Choi quickly turned off the fire alarm system. Everyone rushed to check on Van Ha's situation. UIN lay motionless, completely unaware of his surroundings. Then they called for an ambulance. That evening, the A-team was sent by the team leader to deal with reporter Kim. However, the person at her house was a member of the special agents. The assailant was quickly subdued. However, when the agents tried to take fingerprints to confirm the killer's identity, they discovered he had no fingerprints. Members of Team A, who were willing to risk their lives, also didn't reveal their identities. At this time, reporter Kim, after meeting with the prosecutor, wanted to introduce someone to him. It turned out Se had collaborated with a member of the Special Task Force. She knew that she and Suyeon alone wouldn't be able to do anything to the person behind the case from 22 years ago. That's right, it's a powerful corporation. Prosecutor Yuan Song was extremely angry. Why did you tell our plan to outsiders? And you, who are you? Follow us to a place where you'll find out. Then Prosecutor Yuan Song and reporter Kim were taken to a place where they had to cover their faces to conceal their path. This is the headquarters of the Special Task Force. The captain personally came to pick up the two people. At this time, Writer Ha was being cared for at the villa. Despite his condition, he was not taken to the hospital. Then Director Choi came to ask UIN if he had found Adamus yet. Writer Ha thought it was hidden in the ceiling because when the halogen gas was released, it was absorbed by the ceiling, proving that there was a mechanism up there. In also gave his analysis, explaining why he believed a Damas was in the ceiling. The military chairman wanted to keep it there to admire. The wealthy are often obsessed with ultimate power. They want to preserve the most glorious moment, which is the Damas launch. The president's room is also decorated the same way as the first exhibition of the Diamond Arrow. Director Choi is also convinced by this speculation, but the writer still has a worry. It was his tape recorder that was lost, and Director Choi was afraid their actions would be exposed. They quickly wanted to go find the tape recorder, but then the student entered Yuan's room. It turned out that he was holding the tape recorder when Writer Ha fainted and accidentally dropped it. The student picked it up and hid it because he initially intended to give it to the housekeeper. But because he didn't want to betray his teacher, he brought it back to Yuan. At that time, the student was sobbing uncontrollably. He needed to go out urgently to donate his liver to save his father. His father was in good condition, but his condition worsened when the housekeeper moved him to the VIP room. The student begged Mr. Van Ha to find a way to help him. The next day, Mr. Van Ha, having recovered, went to see Director Choi. He wants to steal Adam today. Director Choi wonders how, even though he knows a Damas is hidden in the ceiling, they can bring the ceiling down. Yuan begins to analyze how the military chairman hid it there to admire it. Surely there must be a mechanism to raise and lower the ceiling. The king must sit on a throne, so the mechanism would be on the chairman's desk. Director, do you know the code? This is simple. Just find the combination of numbers and arrange it into a meaningful sequence for the president. The writer can do this because he wrote a novel about the president's life, so he remembers all the number sequences related to his life. Now, can the plan begin? Director Choi agreed. He also informed Writer Ha that his brother was being kept safe at the Special Task Force headquarters. After the prosecution, the team leader informed him that his younger brother was at the military chairman's villa looking for a Damas. So-hun was extremely annoyed. What is this kid doing? And why do you all want to help him? What do you want from me now? The new Special Task Force leader spoke up. We and your younger brother are cooperating to catch a big fish, find the real culprit who dealt with your father 22 years ago, and bring down a powerful corporation. We are now in the same boat. Hopefully, you'll cooperate happily. The captain extended his hand, but the prosecutor was still annoyed, so he refused to shake hands and left, taking reporter Kim with him. However, when he reached the door, the prosecutor was stopped by the headquarters security guard. He angrily tried to challenge the security guard to a duel, but the security guard collapsed to the ground after just one move. They threw him into the room where Director Choi led Writer Ha to where he hid the documents. The purpose was to contact headquarters so the two brothers could talk to each other. Before the prosecutor finished, he yelled into the phone, "This guy gets out of that villa. Don't you care about your life anymore?" Yuan knew his brother was worried about him, so he tried to encourage him. "I know what to do, and the culprit in my father's case must be caught. But that's the prosecutor's job. We don't need to talk much. Leave now." Van Ha didn't want to continue provoking his brother, so he handed the phone to Director Choi. The team leader also told Director Choi to stop stealing Adam because they weren't sure if it was the murder weapon. At the same time, the Special Task Force also has the name of the culprit sent by Team A. Their target is the Hong Group, not just the military chairman. The Special Task Force began to use torture to find out who the person in the painting was. But even after logging out, this person refused to speak, leaving them helpless. Seeing this, the prosecutor decided to go in and interrogate the culprit. "I ask you, just answer." After a while of psychological manipulation, So-hun started asking who the person in the painting was. Finally, he opened his mouth, but it was "I don't know." He kept giving the same answer. After the prosecution, he pretended to be helpless, but he really moved him. "I think I should go outside so they can come in and beat you up again. They won't ask as politely as I did." Now this guy tells him to wait a moment. He has something to reveal. So-hun smiled, thinking he had successfully manipulated the killer, but unexpectedly, he was being toyed with by the killer. He only asked the prosecutor what time it was, which made him extremely annoyed. But reporter Kim wondered what he was asking about the time for. Looking at the expression of the murderer, the prosecutor thought he hadn't completely failed. Although he hadn't asked anything yet, he had already made him worried. It seemed the murderer was waiting for something. The prosecutor knew what those waiting were thinking. That was, they longed to live, so he planned to use anesthetic and say it was a farewell drug to scare him. Then So-hun brought the vial of medicine to the killer and acted in a way that made him start to be afraid. He asked him one last time who the person in the painting was, but he still refused to say. So-hun had to inject him with the medicine, but after the prosecution, he didn't know that the vial of medicine had been tampered with by the Special Task Force captain. It wasn't an anesthetic, but a real death potion. Knowing this, reporter Kim worried that they were turning him into a human handler. The captain disregarded the fact that no one would know about this. On the other hand, the captain of Team A, seeing that the culprit hadn't reported by the deadline, worried that something had happened to the culprit, immediately prepared his weapons and gathered his personnel to deal with it. If we can't save him, we'll deal with him. It turns out this guy was just bait for Team A to find the location of the Special Forces team. Perhaps a battle is about to break out today. The chairman is on a plane going to dinner with his second son. The housekeeper is also away. This is the best opportunity to steal Adam. Director Choi said that he checked the chairman's office but found no agency with a code like UIN described, but he found a button that looked like an alarm button. One is used to activate the mechanism to lower the ceiling, the other is an emergency alarm button. Our chances are 50-50ths. If we are lucky, we might see the diamond arrow. If we are unlucky, the writer will be caught by the bodyguards. Without hesitation, I decided to proceed according to plan. I will press that button. Director Choi wants to get orders from headquarters, but UIN can't wait any longer. I cooperate, not follow orders. That evening, the writer broke into the chairman's office. He searched for the button that Director Choi mentioned outside. Director Choi was waiting in case anything happened so he could handle it immediately. But nothing happened. Could it be that UIN succeeded? Inside the writer's house, he found the button and pressed it. The ceiling gradually lowered, revealing the place where Adamas was kept, but the diamond arrow had disappeared. It turned out the housekeeper was the one who took it to the CEO. Now the writer realized the evidence had been taken away and destroyed. At this time, Team A, relying on the signal attached to their accomplice, reached the Special Forces base. They eliminated the guards around the area and advanced into the center. At that moment, reporter Kim, who was smoking outside, noticed the commotion and went to investigate. She immediately came face to face with Team A, and the team leader smiled and ordered her to be arrested. Inside the base, after finishing his prosecutorial duties, he went to find the Special Forces team leader and was extremely angry when he learned that the team leader had deceived him. Suddenly, an agent ran in to report that headquarters was under attack. The team leader wanted to check the surveillance equipment, but the signal had been cut off. He immediately guessed that these infiltrators were Team A. Immediately, the captain ordered everyone to evacuate. After getting into the prosecutor's vehicle, he couldn't find reporter Kim. He rushed back to search despite the captain's attempts to stop him from returning to the base. He saw Team A there, an agent captured and looking pleadingly at Hun. But the captain didn't give him a chance to live. He noticed the agent looking at someone. When he went to check, the prosecutor was gone. He ran into the forest to find reporter Kim. Meanwhile, So was being held by a member of Team A Can. Taking advantage of his inattention, she pushed him down and escaped. The agent hastily chased after her, not forgetting to fire a warning shot. Suddenly, after finishing his work, he rushed out to let her escape the bullets. He untied C, and the two ran together, then hid in a bush. So, Hun suggested that Seo-hee run first, and he would run behind to cover her. Both followed the plan. A member of Team A saw them and was about to open fire, but luckily the female agent turned back to provide backup. Both took the opportunity to escape quickly. Inside the base, the team leader found his captured accomplice. He was also on the verge of death, so the team leader ordered his subordinates to carry his accomplice to the hospital. Now, members of Team A found the Special Forces team leader's computer. The captain of Team A, seeing his subordinate being injected with drugs by So-hyun, was extremely enraged and determined to make him pay. Unexpectedly, the computer activated its timer mode, revealing that the captain of the Special Forces team had planted a bomb. The purpose was to detonate it in case of any unforeseen circumstances, thus concealing their actions. The team leader threw the computer back and fled with his teammates. The powerful explosion reduced the entire Special Forces base to dust. Meanwhile, the writer told Director Choi about Adamas's disappearance. UIN suspected their actions had been exposed, and Director Choi wanted to leave immediately. He had to report to headquarters first, but when he tried to call the team leader on the walkie-talkie, it wouldn't connect. Director Choi knew something bad had happened and rushed back to inform Ryder Ha. Uin was worried about his brother, but Director Choi said that after the prosecution, he had escaped. Ryder Ha heard this and said, "Then I can rest assured." Now Director Choi wants both of them to escape before the chairman returns, but Van Ha insists on staying at the villa. He wants to know the reason Adamus disappeared because now he can be sure it was the murder weapon they hid. At this time, the captain took his accomplice to the hospital, but he didn't make it. Unexpectedly, this man turned out to be the captain's younger brother. This made him hate the prosecutor to the core. He also wanted to make Hyen suffer the pain of losing a loved one, so he decided to target Van Ha's villa. After the prosecution and escape, he went to stay temporarily at his younger brother's house. Uin's house had a facial recognition password to prevent anyone from breaking in. Luckily, they were twins and had identical faces, so Hyen and reporter Kim decided to hide here. The next day, after finishing the prosecution, he called a colleague for help. He wanted that person to send him the case file of his stepfather, who was prosecuted 22 years ago. He had to use a public phone to avoid revealing his whereabouts, but Hun didn't know that the room he and Sehei were in had been targeted by someone. At this time, the two were sitting and talking about what had just happened at the base. Then the prosecutor told S a truth about his family. The person who had logged out in the case 22 years ago was only his stepfather. So why is my younger brother so dedicated to that case? Why would he risk going into the lion's den to find the murder weapon? Reporter Kim thinks there's some secret that only the Van Ha family knows. So Hun doesn't think his younger brother could be hiding anything from him. Suddenly, someone rings the doorbell, making the two of them anxiously go to see. A stranger is waiting outside, their purpose unclear. Meanwhile, the Van Ha family begins searching for Adam's whereabouts. He discovered that the person likely holding the diamond arrow was the CEO of the Hong Group. Based on years of service, she was the most senior. Therefore, she was certainly the most trusted by the military chairman. After obtaining this information, Uin decided to leave immediately. Unexpectedly, he saw that the president's bedroom door was still open. The writer decided to go inside to see what the situation was like. He found a secret room that led straight to the housekeeper's room. There, Uin found the housekeeper's photo album. Unexpectedly, she had a son that she had kept hidden for so long. Suddenly, Ryder Ha heard some commotion and hurriedly returned to the chairman's office. There, he accidentally ran into the villa's bodyguard. Unexpectedly, the maid was the one who had invited the bodyguard to the chairman's office. The maid wanted them both to sit down and talk to clarify things. She probably suspected the bodyguard and writer Uin were accomplices. But in reality, the bodyguard was only admiring Ryder Ha's talent. That's why he always watches over and secretly protects him. On the other hand, the chubby colleague followed the prosecutor's instructions. He started searching for documents about the case from 22 years ago. But all those files had been taken away by someone a long time ago. The person who took the documents immediately called and reported it to the captain of Team A. It turned out that even in the prosecutor's office there was a spy from Team A. At this time, Prosecutor Song decided to let the stranger into the house. He claimed to be a plumber who had come to check the pipes. In fact, So Hun wanted to catch this guy to find out who sent him, because he wasn't stupid enough to let a stranger into the house in an emergency. After the prosecution, he immediately rushed in and beat the repairman to a pulp. He asked the young man if he was the one sent by Team A, but the man stubbornly denied all his actions. So Hun even intended to beat him to a pulp right there and then. Reporter Kim saw this and rushed out to stop him and keep him calm. She said that since the enemy and friend were not yet clearly defined, he shouldn't act rashly. Unexpectedly, the repairman threatened the writer's life. The prosecutor, enraged, beat him up for his insolence. The repairman's colleague in the building opposite observed the critical situation. He realized the repairman was about to be killed and quickly ran over to help. He arrived and kept banging on the door, forcing reporter Kim to open it for him. It turned out that these two were members of the Special Task Force observing from a distance. The Special Task Force thought that Team A would send someone to find the prosecutor. Therefore, they had set up an ambush around the building beforehand. Sohan knew that the Special Forces captain had planted a listening device on the repairman, so he loudly said, "I know you're listening, let's meet in person." The captain had no choice but to have someone escort the two of them to the team's new base. Today, the daughter-in-law returned to the Hong Group's villa. The The writer came to see her to ask for advice on how to resolve the recent trouble. It's about the maid discovering she secretly entered the chairman's room. The daughter-in-law told him to use money to settle everything quickly. Inan understood and brought money to bribe the maid. At first, she hesitated, but only because she thought the amount was too small. After Uin pulled out a few more stacks of money, she changed her attitude. The maid quickly agreed to compromise and accepted the writer's money. She also gave him another extremely important piece of information. Secretary Cam was the one who introduced him to work here. When the housekeeper returned and questioned her, the maid didn't say a word. She revealed nothing about the collusion between Uin and the security guard, much less about the writer sneaking into the president's office while he was away. That evening, the writer came to thank the maid again. He took out another stack of money and said, "I have something else I need to know clearly." Uin wanted to know the secret about the son of that fierce housekeeper, whom he had seen in the photo album in her secret room. The maid hesitated, so the writer took out another stack of money. He knew how to get this greedy maid to talk with cash. The maid began to reveal a shocking secret of this family. The housekeeper's son disappeared years ago by logging out. He ended his life right by the tree in front of the housekeeper's room. That's why she never opened the curtains of that room. Her son's heart was donated to the president himself. That's why the housekeeper always cared for the chairman like her own son. Then Uin brought this matter to ask the tycoon's daughter-in-law. Because the heart donation was performed at her family's private hospital, but the daughter-in-law was completely unaware of it until now. Because at that time, the identity of the heart donor to the chairman was kept secret, Uin immediately understood what shady things were behind it. The self-destruction of the housekeeper's son was actually orchestrated by the military chairman. At this point, after the prosecution was finished, he was led to the head of the special task force. He wanted to know everything they were investigating about the team. The head of the task force no longer hid anything and decided to tell the whole truth. Team A is a secret organization belonging to the Hong Group. They specialize in eliminating obstacles by staging accidents. Team A is currently under the direct management of the team leader. In short, they are mercenary assassins working for the military chairman. Prosecutor Song wondered if the powerful military chairman was behind Team A, then who was actually backing the special task force? It turned out the special task force also received orders from a top-tier VIP. So Han thought that if they could eliminate the military chairman behind Team A, all the dark secrets of this group would officially end. But the captain immediately rejected his idea. He explained that even if the president was absent, there was still someone to replace him, because Team A was tied to he and not to any one person. The best solution at the moment was to arrest the president and disband Team A. However, the special task force didn't even know the face of the team leader of Team A. Reporter Kim had seen him many years ago. She saw him in the case of her stepfather, the prosecutor, 22 years ago. This surprised the team leader because they had been searching for him for so long without success. Now, getting the information was as easy as pie. At that time, after the prosecution, they wanted to get their younger brother out of that villa. He was afraid that the boy would be in danger staying in such a scary place. But the captain disagreed because the election was approaching. They had to quickly deal with the military chairman and team before that day. Otherwise, something big would surely happen to the country. After the prosecutor finished, he and reporter Kim tried to escape, but everyone who knows about this secret base has to stay here. At the same time, the Special Forces team also wants to keep the two of them safe. The main door is locked with biometrics, so they have to go through the emergency exit. Reporter Kim tries to distract the female Special Forces officer to help him. She creates an opportunity for the prosecutor to secretly open the emergency exit at the back. But their actions don't escape the notice of the team leader. He comes over and invites So-hun to have a meal to talk things through. During the meal, the captain told the prosecutor everything he knew. From the fact that the military chairman would nominate a candidate for the next president to that he would legalize weapons after the election. Then there would be a purge of all those who opposed him. Among those purged would be you and me. Actually, this wasn't the only presidential term where he interfered. The military chairman had been meddling in elections for many years. Team A and the Special Forces had clashed many times in the past. Many Special Forces captains had sacrificed their lives. This time, the captain hoped for cooperation from the two brothers. He hoped we would have a chance to win completely against the enemy. On this side, The female special agent also recounted everything to reporter Kim. The members of the special task force were all people with unclear identities. The purpose was that if they sacrificed themselves, the organization's secrets would not be revealed. Their silent sacrifice never expected any reward. Finally, after the prosecution, they understood the bigger picture and accepted to stay. He agreed to follow the captain's decision and plan. First, they had to find the whereabouts of Adam's staff at all costs. The good news was that the captain was tracking the holder of the staff. The bad news was that their time was running out. Adam's staff would be modified before the 85th anniversary of its founding. This major event of the H Song Group is about to take place in a few days. The next day, reporter Kim took the female agent to her house to retrieve the documents. These were the documents she had collected from the case 22 years ago. But when they arrived, her house had already been broken into. All the important documents had been stolen. Afterwards, the two of them went to the police station to retrieve the case archives. But of course, the file there had already disappeared. Meanwhile, the chubby colleague of the prosecutor had just returned home when he was startled. He discovered a strange girl sitting in his house. This was the professional handler sent by Team A. She asked the fat guy about So Hyunun's current hiding place, because they knew that the two of them had been in contact before. This female villain had also prepared cruel tactics if the fat guy refused to speak. She whipped her colleague with a whip in an extremely brutal way. It's unclear why a man like him was so intimidated by a woman that he turned pale. Another prosecutor went to the prison to meet prisoner 2006. But his actions were fiercely thwarted by the guards. The guard even took out a small piece of paper to show So-hun. He said that prisoner 2006 asked him to pass on message. The letter clearly stated, "I don't want to see you again." After reading it, the prosecutor had no choice but to turn around and leave in bitter disappointment. Then he decided to visit his biological father's grave. But he was shocked to discover that someone had dug up the grave. After digging and vandalizing it, they filled the earth back in as before. They wanted to destroy the body so that even if they found the murder weapon, it would be useless, because at that time the police would no longer be able to conduct tests. But the wicked people of Team A didn't expect that they had dug up the wrong grave. The real grave had actually been moved to another corner by the writer Ha beforehand. Prosecutor Song also knew this clearly. His younger brother didn't hide it from him. Because before deciding to go to the military chairman's villa to work, UIN knew for sure that his reinvestigation of the case would cause a big commotion and those behind the case 22 years ago would try to destroy the evidence. So the writer Ha acted quickly, one step ahead of them. He moved the grave to a safe place and only left the tombstone there. He had calculated his moves too meticulously all along. As Hun and the agent returned to their car, they suddenly heard the phone ringing from behind. The agent cautiously approached and opened the trunk to check. Unexpectedly, inside was the cold body of his chubby colleague. This immediately enraged prosecutor So-hun. So-hun picked up the ringing phone to answer it. On the other end was the female gang leader from Team A, who greeted him. He quickly looked around where he was standing. By the time he saw the female villain standing in the distance observing, she had coldly activated the time bomb. The tremendous force caused the car to explode instantly. This female villain wanted them both to know who had killed them. Currently, the prosecution is complete, and the agent's fate remains unknown. Meanwhile, at the Van Ha villa, they continue searching for the maid. He wanted to ask her for help with another important matter. It seemed that these two had become quite close. He wanted the maid to get his personal bag. It was the bag he wore on his first day at the villa. As soon as UIN gave the signal, the maid understood immediately. After retrieving UIN's bag from the security guards, the maid took it straight to the room of the fierce housekeeper. The writer's plan was to have the housekeeper read the photo book. These images would evoke painful memories of her son. Unexpectedly, it was the housekeeper who had requested the president years ago. She begged him to transplant her son's heart into himself, with the sole wish that her son would live forever by her side. But the poor housekeeper didn't know it was all a trap. Everything was part of the military chairman's pre-planned scheme. Even her son's self-registration was orchestrated by Team A. The writer's picture book also mentioned that cruel story. The housekeeper, after reading it, fell into extreme distress and anguish. She couldn't believe what was in the book, but her heart began to stir. Then she called the writer to her room to ask him for an explanation. She wanted to know the real reason why he wrote that terrible book. Yuan didn't hesitate and immediately answered her frankly. You told me you wanted to help her find out the truth about her son's death. He even retorted, didn't you ever suspect the chairman? The housekeeper's attitude remained extremely resolute. She insisted that the chairman was not the one who committed that atrocity. Perhaps blind loyalty had overshadowed sacred maternal love, but through the housekeeper's hesitant words and eyes, the writer could still see the hidden guilt within. However, the housekeeper did not report this to the chairman afterward. She was silent, as if quietly waiting for something to happen, and that something would happen on the very day the chairman held his retirement ceremony. This event coincided with the 85th anniversary of the Hong Group. It would be a grand celebration right in this prestigious mansion. That evening, the police found the exploded car at the scene. At the same time, they also found the agent and the prosecutor lying there. 2 people were seriously injured and immediately taken to the emergency room. News of the horrific car explosion quickly spread online. Upon hearing this news, reporter Kim was extremely worried and panicked for them. She wanted to go to the hospital immediately to check on Sohan's condition. But reporter Kim had no idea that a major incident was happening outside the headquarters. Many dangerous mercenaries were stationed around there. As soon as the secret base location was revealed, they would immediately strike. The assassins would storm in to eliminate all members of the Special Forces team at once. Fortunately, the Special Forces team leader was able to foresee the danger in time. He vehemently prevented reporter Kim from leaving the base at this time. She was extremely angry and said that the Special Forces team was no different from Team A. They were all cold-blooded and inhumane. Meanwhile, at the hospital, the prosecutor's condition was critical. Doctors had done everything to save him, but he still hadn't regained consciousness. On the other side, in prison 2006, a prisoner suddenly went mad and banged on the door. He shouted, demanding that the prison guard come to him immediately. Because he knew that this prison guard was actually a member of Team A. He wanted to ask him to contact the current team leader of Team A. Unexpectedly, prisoner 2006 turned out to be their former team leader. At this time, at the base, reporter Kim threatened the Special Forces team. She said she absolutely had to go out and meet the prosecutor. Otherwise, she would post an article exposing the whole truth about them online. She would expose all the crimes of the Hong Group and the Special Forces team. The captain had no choice but to agree to let her go. The female agent immediately led her to safety through the base's secret tunnel because there were many mercenaries waiting outside to deal with them. Unexpectedly, after the prosecution was completed, the special agents secretly brought him back from the hospital. They secretly took him straight to his private residence for safe treatment. Seeing that he was still safe and sound, he was extremely happy and relieved. It turned out that when the car exploded, the special agent had shielded Sohan with his own body. That courageous act made him very grateful and feel sorry for the special agent. The prosecutor was very saddened that both the agent and his chubby colleague had lost their lives because of him. Reporter Kim Eun comforted him, telling him to turn his grief into action. As long as he caught the culprit, they would surely be at peace in heaven. Then the 2 of them tried to escape from this private house together. Both of them wanted to carry out their own separate plans. When the female agent returned to the private house, she couldn't find the 2 of them anymore. She hurriedly ran to look for the prosecutor because she feared he was in danger. Unexpectedly, the prosecutor's reckless plan was to go find Than Adam himself. He had used his powerful position as a prosecutor to act. He openly broke into the Hong Group headquarters to find the base of Team A. There, Prosecutor Song discovered the vehicles team are used for missions. However, the strict security force there prevented him from approaching. Sohan had to go out to the parking lot to wait with reporter Kim. At this point, Sarah relayed extremely important news to him. She said she had successfully posted an expose on social media. The post discussed the true appearance of the Adams artifact. She had intentionally posted it under the guise of an anonymous user. Now they just needed to patiently wait for Team A to act. Because surely, once information about Adams' artifacts was leaked, they would try to hide it. They had to move it elsewhere to ensure absolute safety. Because the diamond arrow was something all thieves in Korea coveted. Now, as expected, Team A began to move to carry out the mission. After the prosecution, they immediately told the driver to quickly follow them. Team A marched straight to the private residence of the CEO of the corporation. The cold-hearted captain demanded that she hand over the Adama sword. Unexpectedly, even the CEO knew nothing about this. She didn't know that the box contained the most valuable thing in the Hong Group. Outside, After carefully observing the situation around the house, the prosecutor decided to break in to check. Upon arriving, Bang Hoang discovered that the CEO had been dealt with. They had murdered him and then fabricated it into a fake self-registration case. Now the smug captain, carrying the diamond arrow, left immediately. He didn't forget to tell his teammates to stay and clean up the crime scene. At this moment, the fat guy from Team A heard strange noises coming from inside the house. Prosecutor So-hun was frantically trying to save the CEO's life. In a moment of carelessness, he accidentally let her body fall to the ground a little too hard. Hearing the loud noise, Team A immediately rushed inside. Seeing the critical situation, Prosecutor So-hun quickly sought refuge. However, he was unlucky enough to be spotted by one of their bodyguards. So-hun then risked his life jumping down to take down the bodyguard and continued to flee. Team A's men were determined not to let him off so easily. Music. So-hun had to flee from the relentless pursuit of the fierce bodyguards. His body hadn't fully recovered from the explosion. Luckily, reporter Kim appeared just in time at the most critical moment. She quickly pulled him into a hidden corner to avoid the enemy's gaze. Then the two of them continued to flee headlong into the darkness. They accidentally crashed into a parked car nearby. The person in the car was none other than the president's daughter-in-law. She immediately put them both in her car and sped away. The gang members chased after them, but it was too late. Witnessing that scene drove the fat man mad with rage at losing his prey. After getting into the prosecutor's car, he hurriedly called the female special agent on the team. She was furious on the other end of the line because the two of them dared to leave without saying a word to her, causing her to worry. So-hun explained that they needed to meet immediately because the situation was very urgent. The CEO was dealt with by them and the incident was faked as a self-logout. And the Adamas artifact she was carrying was taken away by the captain of Team A. Hearing this, the daughter-in-law was somewhat shocked and bewildered. She never imagined that her father-in-law had such a ruthless organization behind him. They specialize in staging the execution of innocent people to cover up crimes. She suddenly thought that perhaps her husband's death years ago was also a similar scheme. Afterwards, her daughter-in-law drove the prosecutor and reporter Kim to the base. As the two were about to get out of the car to leave, she turned to ask So-hyun. She asked him if he wanted to send a message to his writer younger brother. He pondered for a moment, then told her to tell him to stay safe. After that, the prosecution was over and reporter Kim safely returned to the secret base. They were reprimanded for their reckless actions and for letting an untrustworthy person, their daughter-in-law, know the base's location. Unexpectedly, the base experienced a complete power outage shortly afterward, as someone from Team A outside destroyed their power station. The prosecution was finished, and an agent went through the tunnel to investigate. At that time, the female agent and reporter Kim were in their room. Suddenly, someone knocked on their door. The female agent went out to open the door and check the situation, only to find that the female culprit had easily gotten in. She attacked, catching the female agent off guard. The female agent quickly retaliated on the spot. Reporter Kim, terrified, called the prosecutor for help. After the phone call, So-hun anxiously returned to the base. Meanwhile, prisoner 2006 was trying to injure himself. He was desperate to meet the captain of Team A. There was no other way. The captain had to go to the prison. He asked prisoner 2006, "Don't you know that after the prosecution, he'll be your long-lost son?" The captain took out the DNA test results confirming the blood relationship between the two. Prisoner 2006 angrily asked, "What do you want to do?" The captain laughed and said, "What a pity, I already dealt with him. But don't you have another twin? What should I do with him?" Then the captain made a condition to prisoner 2006, threatening that if he wanted his son alive, he should hand over the real Adamas. Unexpectedly, the diamond arrow that the others were fighting over was fake. The real one had been hidden by prisoner 2006 for the past 22 years. This is also a crucial reason why he has survived until now. At this point, the writer decided to go and talk to director Choi. He knew Adamas would be brought back to the villa to prepare for the celebration, the grand 85th anniversary celebration of the Hong Group. Along with the upcoming welcoming of the new chairman of the group, the plan to steal the precious diamond arrow would begin immediately. Yuan no longer bothered to hide his plan. He knew the Special Forces team had a hidden plan for a long time, to use him as a scapegoat for their purposes. A perfect charade would be staged to deceive everyone around him. The writer will play the role of the person who attacked Adamas's audio cable. Then the police will immediately raid and arrest him and confiscate the artifact. The special task force will be able to take this treasure away completely legally, and the writer will bear all the blame before the law. Director Choi also admitted that all of UIN's reasoning was correct. However, he didn't want to give up, so I accepted the risk to make the guilty pay the price. The writer's stubbornness made Director Choi trust him even more. The plan will begin as soon as the anniversary occurs. At this point, the prosecutor and the agent return to the base, only to find the female agent lying there barely alive. Reporter Kim had been arrested. Sohun chased after her outside and spotted the car the female criminal had just driven away in. He stole a car from a passerby and chased after her, but couldn't catch up. Sohun cleverly steered into another alley and successfully intercepted the female criminal's car. He intended to deal with her properly, but the female villain threatened him with a car, forcing the prosecutor to quickly dodge. Taking advantage of the situation, the female villain took reporter Kim away, leaving the prosecutor extremely angry. After the prosecutor finished his work, he called the special agent and said they needed to rescue reporter Kim. The special agent told Sohun to return to plan before infiltrating Team A's base. After the prosecution is finished, she's anxiously waiting, and after she logs out, she can't sacrifice herself in vain. Hearing this, the captain was extremely saddened. There's also someone here who just sacrificed themselves, and agents like them are logging out, but no one remembers. The captain ordered the agent to take the person with him after the prosecution is finished. Then the Special Forces team advanced straight into Team A's base. A fierce battle ensued between the two sides. On this side, the Special Forces team leader began to calm down. He noticed something unusual and immediately called the agent. He informed him that they had been lured into a trap. At that moment, after the prosecution was finished, they were pursued by a vehicle from Team A. For the second time, he was hit by enemy bombs. He wondered if he would be lucky enough to escape death this time. Meanwhile, Director Choi went to where the walkie-talkie was hidden, intending to contact their headquarters. But when did the secret walkie-talkie disappear? He returned to the monitoring room to check who had come to the nearby forest. Unexpectedly, the person who took it was his close bodyguard. Afterwards, Director Choi told the writer about this. They didn't know what the bodyguard's purpose was in doing this. If they had found it, they should have reported it to the chairman by now. After all, he didn't pose any threat to us. Suddenly, Director Choi received a report that someone from the Hong Group headquarters had arrived. He suspected that the bodyguard had reported to headquarters, so he hastily asked you to split up to search for the bodyguard. After finding the bodyguard, Director Choi took him to an abandoned house in the forest and attacked him. Where did the bodyguard take the box? The bodyguard said he didn't take the box. He saw it but just left it there. Director Choi, still fuming, knocked the bodyguard unconscious. Now, the writer arrives and finds the bodyguard lying on the ground. He asked Director Choi, what did he confess? The bodyguard said he didn't take it, so someone else must have. Who was this person and what was their purpose? Suddenly, another bodyguard came in. In his hand was a briefcase containing a walkie-talkie. Director Choi wanted to snatch it back from the bodyguard. The bodyguard wanted to know what was inside. UIN and Director Choi didn't know what to say. Now the bodyguard asked a question. You two work for the Special Forces, right? This surprised the two of them greatly. How did he know about the existence of the Special Forces? It turned out that this bodyguard was also a member of the Special Forces who had been infiltrated the villa. Agents usually don't know about each other's existence for safety reasons. To verify his identity, UIN asked him to unlock the box. The bodyguard didn't take long to open it. Now the problem was the bodyguard lying there. UIN refused to let them deal with the bodyguard. Suddenly, the bodyguard woke up and asked everyone what was happening. The undercover agent approached, intending to deal with the bodyguard. Mr. Ha was still determined to stop them, but he was immediately knocked unconscious. The other two then dealt with the bodyguard. Afterwards, the special agent reported to the housekeeper that the bodyguard had logged out, saying that he had been affected by the drug and had logged out. The housekeeper was furious that such an incident had occurred so close to the corporation's anniversary. The butler told the special agent to keep everything a secret, not letting anyone know, not even the chairman. At this point, the chairman of the military called the captain and asked him why he dealt with the CEO without orders. The captain said that she had revealed information about Adamas, so he silenced her. The chairman asked further, "Besides this, is there anything else you're hiding from me?" The captain remained silent. He didn't dare admit to having met with prisoner 2006. Then the chairman challenged the captain, ordering his subordinate to drive the car towards him. The captain knew for sure that if he dodged, he would be immediately punished. He sat still, gambling with his life. The chairman was only testing his loyalty. The captain still had some use to him. But the captain wasn't an ordinary person either. He not only took orders from the chairman but was also helping his son overthrow him. So the captain planned to bomb the Special Forces headquarters on its 85th anniversary. When the new president took office, his Song's era would officially begin. Team A would replace the Special Forces. The chairman's son really likes these somewhat crazy plans. He agreed to let the captain carry them out. The person who would take all the blame for the terrorist bombing, the captain had already prepared, was reporter Kim, who was being held captive. She was beaten almost to death by the female gang leader. On the other side, after the prosecution was completed, the Special Task Force took him back to headquarters for care. Luckily, he was still alive. Time was ticking away as the 85th anniversary of Hurong's founding approached. After the prosecution was over, the Special Task Force captain came to see him. Sohan didn't know what they were waiting for and why they hadn't acted yet. The captain said the plan would begin today, the 85th anniversary of the H-Song group. Your younger brother will be the main character in this plan. After hearing the prosecutor's words, he became angry and wanted them to stop putting his younger brother in danger. Then, Han left. He found an invitation in his car. Unexpectedly, the prosecutor himself was invited to the party. Meanwhile, the party was starting. Almost all the guests had arrived. Ha's house was well prepared for the plan. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of the Special Task Force, reporter Kim was entering the main hall. She had numerous bombs strapped to her body, and the news quickly reached the task force leader. He ordered his men to evacuate the staff from the building and simultaneously sealed off the entire area, then rushed to reporter Kim's location. The leader requested that the bomb disposal team be called in urgently. Actually, at first, reporter Kim wouldn't have agreed to comply even if she were to be eliminated. But the female gang leader said that if she didn't, these children would be suicide bombers. Because she didn't want innocent children to be sacrificed, she had no choice but to carry the bomb to the Special Forces headquarters herself. Now, if she just lets go of the detonator, everything will turn to dust. The captain had to use tape to firmly secure her hand to the button while waiting for the bomb disposal team. On the other side, the official anniversary ceremony took place after the speech and retirement announcement. Chairman Kwan handed over his position to his son. From now on, he will take over the H-Song group from me. The second son gave a speech, saying that from now on, Hurong would begin a new, more powerful generation than my father's era. The chairman wasn't angry at his son's ambition, but rather pleased, despite his recent appointment. At this moment, Director Choi took the first step of his plan, using the fireworks display to shoot down several surveillance planes. This was also a signal for the rider and the undercover agent. The bodyguards, noticing the signal interruption, rushed to the monitoring room. Director Choi ordered them to call the police to protect the guests while the bodyguards fixed the problem. But it was just a trick. Those who came were members of the Special Forces team. At that time, the student was asked by the rider to cause a commotion at the ceremony so that he could have a chance to sneak out to find Adamas. Unfortunately, UIN was still discovered by Secretary Kwan, but the daughter-in-law stopped the secretary to help him. Secretary Kwan still didn't let it go, knowing that the rider would go to the chairman's office to find Adamas. But when the secretary entered the chairman's office, the person there was the daughter-in-law. The writer was hiding in the tunnel connecting the chairman's office to the housekeeper's room. After Secretary Kwan left, he went outside to get Adam. Yusin activated the mechanism to lower the ceiling, but Adamas was still not there. Someone had taken it and placed a piece of newspaper with a report about the case from 22 years ago. Van Ha realized something and quickly returned to the ceremony. By then, the prosecutor had finished his work and also came to the ceremony. He started causing a commotion, claiming he was the older brother of Rider Ha. The chairman's second son wanted to kick him out, so Han took out an invitation and said I was also invited to this party. Suddenly, the housekeeper went up to the podium and asked everyone to be quiet. Just then, Rider Ha returned to the auditorium, and he signaled to his brother, "Don't do anything reckless." At that point, the housekeeper declared that Adamas was the culprit in the 22-year-old case. The 2006 prisoner was wrongly convicted, and the real culprit was sitting in this auditorium. After saying this, she approached the military chairman, Adamus. He acknowledged that the person responsible for the murder was the military chairman himself. The housekeeper requested that the police be called, and the chairman asked Director Choi to comply with her request. Then, all the guests were escorted away so the chairman could handle the internal matter. At this time, special agents disguised as police officers took Adamus away. The housekeeper was also arrested on suspicion of stealing the diamond arrow. After the prosecution finished, they met the two brothers again. Everyone told the other to leave, but neither wanted to go. Suddenly, the agent appeared and reported back to the prosecutor that they had found reporter Kim. Knowing that her situation was critical, Hun hurriedly returned to the Special Forces base. At this time, the bomb disposal team arrived and began cutting the bomb to rescue reporter Kim. However, the bomb disposal team discovered that the bomb not only had the detonator that Se was holding, but also another detonator in someone else's possession. The team leader realized that everything was part of Team A's plan. He ordered his subordinates to set up a contingency room. After setting up the situation room, reporter Kim was taken inside to defuse the bomb. The first fuse was successfully removed, and the female accomplice was observing their every move. She was extremely pleased with her performance. Meanwhile, the team leader was anxiously searching around, knowing that the person holding the second detonator was very close by. Suddenly, the bomb disposal team heard a strange sound and discovered there was a timer on the bomb. The team leader immediately went to check the monitor. This made him even more worried. Unexpectedly, this bomb had a dual control system, and the bomb disposal team quickly dealt with the timer. The team leader hurriedly ran to the side. He seemed to have discovered something. Unexpectedly, the detonator on reporter Kim's person was not meant to activate the bomb on her. The female culprit did this only to distract everyone by having the emergency response team's gunman aim at the car. In reality, there was another bomb placed elsewhere in the building with a detonator in reporter Kim's hand. After trying to slowly remove her hand from the detonator to check a gun, the team leader called for the Special Forces team to shield reporter Kim. After reporter Kim slowly removed her hand from the detonator, the captain quickly guessed the female culprit's plan. There was another bomb in the building, and the captain ordered everyone to find it. The emergency response team sent gunmen to eliminate Se-hee, but the members of the Special Forces team did their best to protect her. At that time, the prosecutor called the team leader to ask him about the situation over there. The bomb on reporter Kim had been defused, but the detonator on her body could still be used to activate another bomb. Team A was targeting our headquarters. The prosecutor wanted to talk to Se-hee. He advised her to stay calm and trust the Special Task Force. Reporter Kim recounts what the captain of Team A told her. That is, whether she lives or dies, many people will be appearing. Sohun immediately understands the captain's intentions. He didn't intend to kill reporter Kim, so the bomb wasn't placed on her or nearby. The other person the captain mentioned is also not a member of the Special Forces. Team A is targeting a crowded area. This is a real act of terror against civilians, not a power struggle between Team A and the Special Forces. However, it's now 11 o'clock at night. What organization could still be operating? Why did he tell Hun not to worry about him but to go save those in danger? Then both of them hung up. Unexpectedly, after the prosecutor finished watching on public television, the candidate was holding a campaign rally in the middle of the night near the Special Task Force headquarters. On another side, the writer went to the interrogation room to meet the housekeeper. He asked her when she learned that the 2006 prisoner was innocent, but it seemed the housekeeper still didn't understand. She only knew that the chairman used a Adamus to deal with people, but she didn't know who to deal with or who to frame. It turned out the housekeeper wasn't the one who left the newspaper about the 22-year-old case in the box containing Adamus in Chairman Quinn's office and went to the evidence room. He wanted to see just how powerful Adamus really was, drawing everyone into this endless battle. Unexpectedly, the captain was already here. He overpowered UIN and used Adamus to stab him. But the captain deliberately missed, causing Adamus to shatter. This is a fake. Tell your father to bring the real Adamus here. Only now does the writer realize that his biological father in prison is the one holding the real Adamus. It turns out the chairman already knew the truth about the writer's biological father taking Adamus away many years ago. The jeweler said the Adamus he was holding was fake, which angered the chairman, who then shot the jeweler in anger. Director Choi, knowing something had happened, quickly sent someone to UIN. Upon arrival, they found him lying on the ground, the diamond arrow shattered, and the captain had already left. Meanwhile, the prosecutor reported to the Special Task Force that Team A had planted the bomb in the market where the candidate was campaigning. The Special Task Force immediately set off, leaving reporter Kim alone. At that moment, someone from the bomb disposal team returned and said, "I'll stay here and take care of you." The bomb disposal expert wanted to help, so he removed the tape to secure the detonator. She agreed to trust him. Then the bomb disposal expert gave her a bottle of water. After drinking it, he felt dizzy, and the bomb disposal expert still didn't retape the detonator. He was actually a member of Team A. After she fainted, he left. Despite losing consciousness, she used her remaining strength to hold onto the detonator. Now the Special Task Force informs the candidate's secretary that someone has planted a terrorist bomb in his campaign area. The candidate, knowing this, is extremely worried and leaves on his own without telling the people to evacuate. After being prosecuted, he rushes back to save the candidate from a certain defeat. His car explodes right in front of everyone. Team A's target this time was the candidate. The person who confessed was reporter Kim. The reason was that she always hated the candidate. Luckily, Team A's plan failed. Afterwards, reporter Kim was taken to the hospital. The prosecutor was secretly relieved that she was safe, but then she was handcuffed. News of the terrorist attack spread widely, while news of the 85th anniversary celebration of H was kept under wraps. A press conference about the terrorist attack took place. The Special Forces team said they would take responsibility for it. The captain's biggest fear had come true. The Special Forces team had become widely known. The candidate whose life was just saved is incredibly aggressive, saying he wants to catch the person behind the plot to seize his presidency. Unexpectedly, the candidate knows that the VIP behind the Special Forces team is the current president. Today, the female culprit was summoned to the villa by the chairman to ask who ordered her to carry out the terrorist attack. The female gang leader didn't hesitate to reveal that the chairman's second son was the one who gave the order. The son was furious but couldn't do anything to the gang leader once she left. He anxiously apologized to the chairman. The second son wanted to explain, but the chairman, who was furious, told him to shut up. Now, Chairman Kwan says that the captain is manipulating the second son to do what he wants, but the second son still didn't believe that both he and his son wanted to eliminate the opponents. The chairman wanted his son to stop because they no longer needed to hide. The weapon had been destroyed. The second son seemed to understand something. If Adam was destroyed, then it must be a fake. The chairman told him the truth. The real Adamus was being hidden by prisoner 2006. The chairman himself requested the secretary to invite Ryder Ha because he knew that he was the biological son of prisoner 2006. The chairman wanted to use him to pressure prisoner 2006 into revealing Adamus's location. Unexpectedly, everything was under the chairman's control. He knew the truth beforehand. Suddenly, Ryder Ha arrived, wanting to speak privately with the chairman. The chairman chased his younger son out. UIN said he received a message from the chairman through the captain's name. Knowing the chairman's intentions, the chairman didn't beat around the bush and asked Ryder Ha to bring Adamus back here within 2 days. Otherwise, his brother would have to log out. Ryder Ha had no choice but to agree. When UIN went outside, he met Director Choi. His purpose in coming here wasn't just to meet the chairman, but also to plan something new with Director Choi. He told UIN everything he knew. The housekeeper confessed everything she knew about the case from 22 years ago. She was certain the military chairman was the one who handled the case. Her son saw him bringing the weapon home, and he could use that to request an investigation into the military chairman. On the other hand, Prosecutor Song requested cooperation from the candidate, saying that those who wanted to kill him were Team A. But the candidate told So-hun that if Team A wanted to deal with him, he certainly wouldn't be sitting here anymore. The candidate was just part of the plan, and he wasn't afraid of being dealt with. Prosecutor Song Kong's attempt at manipulation was also successful on the part of the Special Task Force captain. After analyzing the components of the bomb found on reporter Kim, he initially thought it was from the Hong Corporation. However, the bomb's components were similar to those used by the Special Task Force in their investigations, which were at a standstill. That evening, the team leader came to see the female criminal, who invited him to sit down and talk. Unexpectedly, the female criminal put poisonous leaves in the team leader's wine. After drinking it, he ran outside in pain. The chairman instructed the female gang leader to act alone and deal with all those who intended to rebel. The captain couldn't bear it any longer and collapsed when he reached the car. The fat man got out, picked him up, and threw him into the trunk. Then the fat man and the female gang leader took the captain away. After the prosecution, the writer and I returned home. So Hyun asked why his younger brother was so determined. With a case from 22 years ago like that, the person who logged out wasn't his biological father anyway. Is there any truth you're hiding from me, right? The Van Haar family then revealed everything. The person wrongly imprisoned is our biological father. At this point, the daughter-in-law went to the housekeeper's office, wanting to cooperate with her. Doesn't she want revenge for her son? The daughter-in-law told the housekeeper that, in fact, when her son was taken to the emergency room, he was still alive, but the military chairman colluded with the hospital director, my father, to create a fake medical record saying he had logged out. The housekeeper was extremely distressed after hearing this. After manipulating the housekeeper, the daughter-in-law made a demand. You know everything about the military chairman. Tell me everything I want to do to destroy him and the corporation, or I'll be done. The next day, the daughter-in-law went to the writer's house and demanded a condition. Give a damas to her, and she would help him rescue his father from prison. The daughter-in-law's purpose was to bring Adam back to the military president in exchange for something more important. The prosecutor then went to the office. The head of the prosecutor's office submitted his resignation letter, was extremely angry after reading it, and then sent Hun to prison. He met his biological father and learned that from now on he would be his defense lawyer in the retrial of the case. 22 years ago, Prosecutor Song wanted to delve into the past to exonerate his father because he knew he was his biological father. But that wasn't important. So Hyun only cared about the truth his biological father was hiding. In fact, 22 years ago, his father had met So Hyun and knew he was his biological son, but he didn't know about the twins. He still thought he only had one child, his mother, because she hated him for being a thief and didn't want him to meet the two brothers. Coincidentally, while hiring a moving service, his biological father met his stepfather through a photo. He then realized this was his wife's current husband and that their family had twins, both his biological children. However, Prosecutor Song didn't care about those boring emotional matters. He wanted, I know the reason my stepfather had to register for that job was all my fault. My biological father began to recount how, one night 22 years ago, the captain came looking for him. He proposed cooperating to steal Adam while feeling both sad and drunk. My biological father agreed to the offer. However, after the successful theft of Adam, the captain came to the house wanting to steal him back, but his biological father was unexpectedly not home. The stepfather then went to look for the biological father, and the captain mistook him for the real Adam and attacked him. After punching him with a fake Adam, the captain realized he had mistaken the person but still didn't let the stepfather get away. There was a chance encounter when he left the house that reporter Kim had seen as a child. The frightened little girl told her father that a man with hands covered in syrup had just left that house. Sensing something was wrong, the father called the police. Upon returning home, he found his stepfather lying on the ground, lifeless. At the same time, he heard the sound of police cars outside and quickly fled the scene. He was afraid of being suspected, but he was still discovered. Finally, the biological father was arrested by the police. Returning to reality, the prosecutor only wanted to know Adamas's whereabouts. But the biological father advised him to go home, saying that if Adamas showed up, they would all have to log out. At this time, Director Choi was called by the chairman who wanted to invite him fishing. Director Choi was extremely worried that his identity might have been exposed. The chairman led him to a fishing spot. Director Choi saw the captain being held captive because he was the one who planned the robbery of Adamas 22 years ago. The captain dared not deny his guilt and begged for Chairman Choi's forgiveness. At that time, I was blinded by greed and acted foolishly. He even wanted to help the chairman find Adamas. But the chairman ordered someone to silence him. Director Choi, watching from the sidelines, was also extremely worried. Wasn't this a tactic to kill the chicken to scare the monkeys? The chairman ordered Director Choi to deal with the captain, leaving him with no other choice. He had no choice but to kick him into the lake. However, after Director Choi and the chairman left, the captain was rescued by the fat man, who was working for the daughter-in-law. On the other hand, reporter Kim was being interrogated as a defendant in the failed terrorist attack. Although she told the whole truth, that everything was orchestrated by the Hong Group, the inspector deliberately tried to steer the case, offering two hypotheses. One hypothesis is that the prosecutor, out of hatred for the Hong Group, collaborated with her to stage the bombing. To frame someone in the group, the two appeared to be very close. The bomb attached to reporter Kim at the time was also fake. The The second hypothesis is that the person behind this terrorist attack is a VIP from the VIP task force targeting the candidate because he has the highest chance of becoming president. After hearing the inspector's two theories, reporter Kim was speechless. With this guy's deceitfulness, it would be a waste if he didn't become a beauty queen. At this moment, due to public pressure, the captain of the special task force had to hold a press conference to announce the investigation into the terrorist attack. Unexpectedly, the second son of the military chairman was also present. He took out an analysis of the bomb's components. Wasn't this the same thing the special task force usually used? The captain had no choice but to end the press conference. Afterward, he spoke privately with the second son. He asked what the corporation's intentions were. The second son directly requested the disbandment of the special task force. The captain disagreed. The second son called the president. What if this was a VIP request? Unexpectedly, he already knew who was behind the special task force. After hearing the phone call, the captain's expression changed. The second son handed. He gave the captain a check, and he could go home to rest. On the other hand, the housekeeper in prison was also drugged. She was just one step in the plan. After the military chairman's investigation, the housekeeper was taken to the hospital, but she was fine. The housekeeper tried to escape from there. The housekeeper realized the assailant was disguised as a doctor, sent by the military commander to deal with her, and quickly fled. However, she was still spotted by members of Team A. He chased after her, but unfortunately, she tripped and fell down the stairs. Suddenly, a man in black appeared. He pointed a gun at the housekeeper, but his target was the assailant in white, and the housekeeper escaped with her life. This man in black was sent by his daughter-in-law to inform her that the housekeeper had been apprehended and the prosecution had finished. Leaving the prison, he encountered the female criminal, who immediately lunged at him and grabbed him by the neck. However, the female criminal said that today was not the day to prosecute him. She had brought him to the prosecution. A sample taken from Adamus showed no trace of the stepfather's syrup. So-hun, the female culprit, informed him. Reporter Kim, in danger after finishing the prosecution, rushed to her side, but she was fine. Now they saw the information that the special task force captain had resigned, and both of them rushed to him. The captain said he had completely failed in this mission and therefore could not continue. Too many of his colleagues have sacrificed themselves without recognition. He doesn't want anyone else to die. Director Choi also saw the news. The captain was previously framed. He angrily pulled out his gun. Director Choi, without saying a word, directly shot and decapitated the chairman. The bodyguards heard the gunshot and rushed over, but Director Choi had already disappeared. Meanwhile, Ryder Ha was being held captive with his father in a container. His father said it was Team A's plan to deal with them, then drove the container into the sea to erase the evidence. Now that the prosecution was over, he couldn't reach his younger brother and was extremely worried. He wanted to ask the team leader for help one last time. The team leader resigned today, so the mission wouldn't end until the end of the day. With only a few hours left to finish the prosecution and end everything, it turned out that the Ryder being taken hostage was also part of the brothers' plan. They knew for sure that someone would be captured as a condition for exchanging Adamus with their father, so they prepared music for each person, a biological device to locate the other person's position. After the prosecution, they used the location to find Ha's younger brother. Ha trusted that his brother would arrive in time to save the father and son. Unexpectedly, a member of Team A entered. He prepared to beat UIN, forcing his biological father to reveal Adamus's location. The biological father was extremely angry but couldn't escape the handcuffs. The man in black beat him, causing the chip attached to UIN's hand to malfunction. The Ryder Ha knew something bad was about to happen, so he sped up his car to his younger brother's location. When they arrived, they split up to find the house where they were being held captive. On this side, after knocking out the Ryder Ha, the man in black approached his biological father and provoked him. Because he refused, that's the position Adamus's son had to take. Unexpectedly, his biological father had escaped from the handcuffs, and now this guy's face was as green as a frog's. He didn't have to exert much effort to resolve the situation easily. This kid is truly worthy of being the first one to take action in Team A. Mr. Ha also woke up. He led his brother outside, just as the special task force arrived. After the prosecution, he reunited with his biological father and younger brother, and couldn't help but thank God. At this time, the second son, hearing that the chairman had been shot, rushed to the hospital. He desperately wanted his father to log out, But not now. The second son wanted the chairman to log out after handing over all power, including control of Team A. Now, his daughter-in-law had also come and bluntly stated her wish. She hoped the chairman would never wake up because she had control of Team A in her hands. If there were no order from the chairman, she would be the one controlling them. The younger son, who knew nothing, was even threatening. Regarding dealing with the daughter-in-law, she said, "Let's see who gets killed first." After saying that, the daughter-in-law left. Meanwhile, Director Choi knew that the military chairman hadn't fully logged out yet, so he went to the hospital to deal with the situation. To be precise, Director Choi took the scissors from the nurse's desk and proceeded to the president hospital room. But first, he had to avoid the security guards when someone suddenly grabbed Director Choi's arm. It was the Special Forces team leader. He knew Director Choi had shot the president, so he was worried and went to look for him. The captain gave Director Choi a new ID card. From now on, he would live under this identity and carry out other missions, hiding far away first. Director Choi disagreed, saying, "If I'm going to do it, I have to do it." Even though the military chairman hadn't logged out yet, he was still uneasy. The captain said he had another plan. To end everything, he held the trump card. Prosecutor Song's biological father and the writer H. He'll bring Adam out and we can regain the advantage. The captain sent Director Choi back to protect them. Then Director Choi listened and returned, but almost got shot in the head by his teammates. Mistaking them for the enemy, Director Choi now gathers everyone together. From now on, he will be the one. Commander Choi gave each person a gun. Perhaps the legal battle will no longer be possible. Help less. Instead, guns will help us eliminate the criminal.
Reporter Kim disagreed.
That's no different than a member of team a prosecutor explaining to her that no matter how hard we try, the result will still be the same. Whoever holds power wins. Even the VIPs of the Special Forces team have to retreat. From now on, we are alone against a powerful corporation. There is no other way but to use force unexpectedly. The writer came in. "We still have another plan," he said. "I had discussed with my daughter-in-law about bringing the captain in as a witness. He would prove that the military chairman was behind everything. That's why when Director Choi pushed him into the lake, he was still there. After being pulled out, the prosecutor was angry, asking why I didn't just let him log out. The writer said that if the captain logged out, no one would be able to prove the military chairman's guilt anymore. Adam was destroyed. Therefore, the military chairman wanted to deal with the last person who could harm him. Even after the prosecution, things weren't calm, so Director Choi had to drag him outside. Now the director threatened, "If you don't calm down, we'll remove you from the writer's plan." Ha already had a way to avoid having to deal with people who just follow his lead. "I also don't want my hands and my teammates' hands to get involved." Siro, after hearing the prosecutor's statement, calmed down inside. His biological father disagreed with using Adamas. He spoke with the captain, saying he didn't believe his daughter-in-law would spare them once they obtained Adamas. The writer, enraged, snatched the gun and pointed it at his biological father's head, but with his superior skills, he easily took it back. His biological father fired a warning shot, hearing the prosecutor's gunshot outside. "Run in. Are you crazy?" My biological father's intention was to deal with Team A before going to find prosecutor Adamas. He thought this was too dangerous, so he didn't let reporter Kim participate, but this time So wants to have her own choice. She will go with writer Ha to find prosecutor Adamas. Then with the special task force, she will deal with Team A before leaving. So wants to make Hun promise her that he must return alive. He also reminded her to stay safe. At this moment, Team A brings their captain to meet the daughter-in-law. She chases everyone out, leaving the captain alone. The daughter-in-law plans to eliminate the biggest threat to the Haesong Corporation, which is the Special Task Force. The captain's name is proposed as his partner. The daughter-in-law doesn't want to sit in the position of chairman of the Haesong Group. If the chairman had been in power before, she wouldn't have interfered. But now that he's nearing the end of his life, his second son won't spare them, because the daughter-in-law knew the secret that the second son was the one who dealt with her husband. Now the daughter-in-law asks the captain who received the order to deal with her husband. Unexpectedly, that person is a female criminal, capable of acting independently and not following anyone's rules. This female villain is the younger sister of the mute secretary from childhood. Because the older sister saw her in distress and didn't help, she became extremely angry. Thu hates her. Now the mute secretary wants the female villain's help, which makes her even angrier. Holding a knife to the mute secretary's neck, the second son made a condition. I will give you everything you want, just help me control Team A. Only then did the female villain agree to compromise. Another side, thanks to the former captain of Team A and the Special Task Force's prior investigation, had most of Team A's information from the report on theft cases by the prosecutor's father, but they discovered the equipment was mixed up. He tried writing it down on paper and asked someone to check the coordinates. The next day, the Special Task Force arrived at the location marked on the coordinates. This is the abandoned lodging house, which had been deserted for a long time, was suspected by the prosecutor to be a base for Team A. Everyone went inside. Searching for Director Choi, they discovered a secret passage. The Special Forces team cautiously went down to investigate. After the prosecutor finished, they found something, unexpectedly. It was concrete containers holding human bodies. This was truly terrifying. At this point, Writer Ha listens again to the recording of the interrogation of his biological father that the prosecutor gave him before he left. UIN imagines the entire sequence of events. The night the crime occurred 22 years ago, that night his biological father and the captain stole Adam. Afterwards, they should have returned home together. But why did the captain return home first? Von Hoish suspicious. His biological father went somewhere before returning, and that's when he unknowingly hid Adam. Adamus's biological father hid him inside the superhero toy statue he gave to his two sons. The night the crime occurred 22 years ago was also the birthday of the two brothers. Meanwhile, UIN's daughter-in-law led the housekeeper to the military chairman's hospital room. He had regained consciousness. The housekeeper, wanting to retrieve her son's heart, attacked the chairman's chest with a cold weapon. He did not resist. This is something she should have done a long time ago. The housekeeper was in agony. The daughter-in-law slapped her to calm her down. Our plan isn't over yet. Now the daughter-in-law's father arrives, astonished that his daughter-in-law dared to lay hands on the chairman. From now on, I will be the chairman of the corporation, or I'll create a fake medical record about the chairman's death. I think Dad can do it. A father who doesn't know what to do can only follow his daughter's ambition. Now it's impossible to stop her anymore. Meanwhile, reporter Kim is meeting with the candidate. He was hit by a bomb and is in the hospital again, luckily escaping. Now he's telling him, Team A won't stop until you log out. The candidate still thinks the chairman won't harm him. He didn't know that the chairman was still in danger of losing his life. After hearing the candidate's name, the fearful Kim gave him time to think just as she was about to leave. The candidate had already thought it over. He wanted to cooperate to save his own life. Then reporter Kim went out of the elevator. She spotted a familiar figure, the doctor who had treated her at Team A's base. Unsure of the doctor's purpose, she secretly followed him. At this point, Prosecutor Song counted a total of 29 empty caskets in the basement. Director Choi guessed that this place had been around for a decade. Perhaps it used to be Team A's base, but being hit by a forgotten bomb here certainly means there are bombs to destroy everything once discovered. Prosecutor Song wants to go search for it, but he finds Team A's mission report in another bunker. This is essential evidence to expose the crimes of the H-Song Corporation. They will use this evidence. On the way back to base, Prosecutor Song receives a call from his younger brother arranging to meet him at a certain location. After the secret prosecution is complete, they want to return to base first to report on the mission as instructed by the director. Some former members of Team A who are still alive and working at Hong Corporation reported on the mission. Since it's old, the prosecution deadline has passed, so we can start with former members of Team A from another side. The second son, upon hearing that the chairman had logged out, rushed to the hospital, pretending to cry for his daughter-in-law, telling him not to put on an act but to prepare well for the confrontation. He said, "The chairman's position is still vacant. I will take it from you soon." The second son angrily stormed out. The news of the chairman's sudden death was like a meteor bomb exploding in broad daylight. The chairman's second son rushed back to the company and immediately held a shareholders' meeting. However, the meeting room was empty. Not a single shareholder showed up. It turned out that they had all quietly gathered around the chairman's daughter-in-law. This time she didn't hesitate to reveal her ambition in front of everyone, declaring that if she lived without me, she would be gone. No one dared to utter a word. At the same time, the prosecutor received a call from reporter Kim saying that he had just tracked the suspicious doctor's car and suspected he had found him. In the secret base of Team AO, Hun hurriedly instructed Seo-hee, "Don't act rashly, wait for me to arrive." Immediately afterward, he reported the situation to the Special Forces team. At this moment, His biological father warned that Team A's base was not an abandoned warehouse that could be entered at will. Once discovered, the entire internal system would automatically detonate to destroy all evidence. Of course, they didn't want to sit and wait, but Director Choi strongly objected because he didn't want anyone else to be there. The tension in the team escalated, and the two of them, without any regard for appearances, started arguing. The Special Forces team had to intervene after the argument, so Hun went outside to get some fresh air at the right moment. Meeting at the Van Ha house, the two got into the car and took the opportunity to share an important matter with Yuzin. At this point, a secret was revealed. Adamas was actually hidden inside a superhero doll that his older brother cherished as a child. Unable to believe his ears, Hun opened the car trunk where he had kept the item since childhood. Just then, their biological father arrived, and Hun asked him if Adamas was hidden there. There was no father here, just silent, not waiting for confirmation. So Hun immediately smashed the doll, and Adamas was actually inside. No one expected that the thing that so many people poured syrup to fight over would be stolen. His father stuffed the toy into his brother's hand and gave it to him as a birthday present, an action that put the whole family in danger. He didn't say another word, only leaving behind a look of disappointment. Before turning to leave, only then did Yuan reveal the reason why his brother was so angry. It turns out that all this time, Nam Sohan has always harbored a deep guilt, believing that he was the reason his stepfather lost his life. If he hadn't insisted on buying that superhero doll that year, his stepfather wouldn't have had to travel to his biological father's house in the middle of the night to demand money and never return. But now that the truth is revealed, he discovers that the doll wasn't even a gift from his stepfather, the very memory he once considered the most important reason for his connection with him. Instead of soothing the wound, this truth only intensifies the pain. As for his biological father, he also has his own suffering, with nowhere to confide in anyone else, regarding the matter of hiding Adamas. The doll wasn't a cruel joke, but rather his attempt to give his son the most precious thing. Meanwhile, Sohan announced news that awakened the entire Special Forces team. He had found Adamas. Some planned to use it as bait to lure Team A out and as leverage in exchange for the team leader's name. This information from the daughter-in-law astonished everyone in the team, as all their hard work, brainstorming, and sweat had finally come from inside a doll. The whole team immediately got to work. Preparing their battle plan, the writer was assigned to deliver the letter to the daughter-in-law to arrange a meeting. The simple agreement was that she would bring the captain's name and we would bring Adamas. And this was also the last collaboration between the two sides. After that, the writer left. But as soon as Yuzin turned his back and left, the daughter-in-law immediately called the captain. Their target wasn't just Adamas, but the entire Special Forces unit. Moreover, the captain harbored a personal grudge and wanted to personally deal with the prosecutor. He wanted revenge for the death of his younger brother. He ordered the Fat Man to summon all members of Team A. This battle could be a life-or-death struggle. On the Special Forces side, after receiving the information, they immediately went into emergency mode. Even the brother's biological father was mobilized. After the prosecution, he quickly implemented the plan. He meticulously mapped out the enemy base's location. Just then, reporter Kim came to find him. Prosecutor Song understood that this plan was very dangerous, so he resolutely did not want her to get involved in this battle. After understanding his intention, she said she would help him in her own way and left. Afterwards, reporter Kim and the political candidate held a press conference. They wanted to publicly expose the series of crimes committed by the H Song Group and the late Chairman Kwan. But as soon as the name He Song left his mouth, the atmosphere in the room plummeted. The reporters lost interest because He Song was too big a name. Their power extended to every corner of the media. Messing with this corporation was like hitting yourself on the head with a hammer. Soon, only two people remained in the room, reporter Kim and the candidate. One person asked, another answered, but the entire office still echoed with terrifying truths about the leading South Korean corporation. However, a moment later, all the remaining reporters simultaneously received anonymous messages. The messages threatened silence or something bad would happen. At the same time, the Special Forces team was ready to enter a life-or-death battle. All members were prepared to fight to the very last moment, but before they could even step out of the base, the writer suddenly realized something was wrong. The leading member of the Special Forces team had just poked his head out the door when he was shot dead without a chance to cry out. It was no guesswork that Team A had proactively ambushed their base. The battle they thought they had initiated turned out to have been anticipated by the enemy. Faced with this unexpected situation, Van half froze in place. Fortunately, Director Choi managed to pull him back inside the house in time. Immediately afterward, Team A stormed the base, and a tense gunfight erupted between the two sides. Despite their superior numbers and advanced equipment, Team A was consistently losing. The star of the match was none other than Director Choi, with his pinpoint accuracy. But battles are never just about winners. As a female Special Forces agent was unexpectedly hit by a bullet and fell, the entire team immediately rushed out to rescue them, but the enemy was growing in number, forcing them to retreat and take refuge inside the house to save their lives. In that moment of chaos, UIN's biological father quickly signaled him to hide behind him. But a mysterious agent suddenly approached and pointed a gun at UIN's head to subdue him. The entire team was stunned to realize the truth. There was a traitor among their ranks. He was the one who informed Team A of the base's location. The writer told everyone to open fire, but no one dared risk their lives for fear of injuring UIN. In this critical moment, the father, who was the former captain of Team A, unexpectedly intervened. He used his terrifying skills, which had intimidated many enemies in the past, to reclaim his son from the other man. During the struggle, Director Choi fired a shot. The bullet killed the traitor but accidentally struck the father, who was too close. The father collapsed, taking his last breath right before UIN's eyes, without being able to utter a single word of farewell. Witnessing that heartbreaking scene, the writer was completely stunned and collapsed to his knees beside his father's body. A series of frantic knocks echoed from outside the base. The riot police and the Special Forces captain suddenly broke down the door and stormed inside. The person who had led them to this location was reporter Kim. Upon seeing Van Ha's house, she immediately rushed to inquire about the prosecutor's whereabouts. Surprisingly, So-hun had already gone to the meeting point alone beforehand. He wanted to use Adamas to exchange for the person from the chairman's daughter-in-law. His reckless choice made reporter Kim restless with worry. As the prosecutor finished his work and was about to enter the central area armed, the power system suddenly cut off. A bullet unexpectedly struck So-hun's body in the darkness. The captain of Team A immediately appeared and launched a series of vicious attacks, aiming to kill him to avenge his younger brother. Realizing the critical situation, the prosecutor grabbed a keyboard and slammed it hard against the opponent's head. The unexpected blow caused the man pain and allowed him to escape to the basement. The brutal captain followed the trail of blood from So-hun's wound to find his hiding place. Waiting in the dark corner, So-hun attacked with a stick and forcefully pinned the villain to the floor. At that moment, the housekeeper, wanting to reclaim her son's heart, attacked the chairman's chest with a cold weapon. He coldly dragged Le, the prosecutor's body, outside, and Tong and sped away in a car. In another development, the Van Ha family suddenly realized that the captain hadn't appeared in the battle. With his gut feeling, he knew for sure that his brother Suyeon was in extreme danger. Van Ha and several Special Forces soldiers immediately got into their vehicles to search for his brother. Tracking the vehicle using GPS revealed that the enemy's car was still moving, forcing him to accelerate and chase after it. Director Choi also drove another vehicle to closely follow the Special Forces team. At another location, a tense confrontation between two women unfolded, creating an extremely suffocating atmosphere as the female assassin still pointed her gun at the daughter-in-law. Being skilled in psychological manipulation, the daughter-in-law immediately realized that her enemy was not mentally stable. Seizing on this weakness, the daughter-in-law immediately offered a cooperation proposal to persuade the other party to lay down their weapons. She promised to reveal the whole truth about the case involving her sister if she received help from the female assassin. Knowing that the female assassin harbored deep hatred for the mute secretary, the daughter-in-law, she immediately used a bait that directly targeted the opponent's psychology. This precise manipulation acted like a master switch, turning the female villain into a completely obedient henchman. As soon as the female assassin left, the chairman's second son entered the room to meet his daughter-in-law. He announced that all members of Team A had been apprehended and proposed a direct confrontation between the two sides. He wanted to use his personal abilities to determine who was truly worthy of inheriting the corporation. Unfortunately, the man was completely unaware that he was up against an extremely cunning and secretive opponent. The shrewd daughter-in-law still held a crucial trump card that had never been revealed to him. At the same time, the Van Ha family was relentlessly pursuing clues to find their brother. Reporter Kim noticed the GPS signal suddenly stop working, so the entire team quickly rushed to the scene. Ironically, the location before them was a vast ocean, causing everyone to fear that the prosecutor had been murdered and his body disposed of underwater. Suddenly, a Special Forces soldier received a call informing them that traces of the prosecutor's car had been found. Without a moment's hesitation, Writer Ha and Director Choi immediately sped straight to the location that had just been provided. Upon approaching the scene, they discovered the vehicle's interior was completely empty and there was no one inside. Both sides immediately engaged in a life-or-death battle, as if they had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. Hearing a loud noise coming from below, the Special Forces soldier quickly moved down to investigate. The situation was extremely unfavorable as Director Choi and the villain were locked in a fierce struggle. Due to a moment of carelessness, Director Choi exposed a weakness and was viciously pinned down by the captain. Fortunately, the Special Forces soldier appeared in time and delivered a powerful kick that sent the villain flying away. The two immediately coordinated to overwhelm each other, but the captain possessed superior martial arts skills, resulting in both of them being knocked down on the spot after a series of vicious blows. While they were still stunned, he quickly sought to escape from the area. However, as soon as he stepped out of his hiding place, he encountered the person who had been waiting there. The Writer Ha immediately questioned him in a harsh voice, asking if he was the one who threw his brother into the sea. The captain deliberately provoked him by loudly admitting that he was the culprit. He even arrogantly challenged the other party to see if they had the courage to shoot and end his life. Not stopping there, the criminal heartlessly described in detail the painful moment before the prosecutor left. Unable to control his rage, the writer coldly shot and disabled both of the villain's legs on the spot. The Special Forces immediately stormed in, surrounded the entire scene, and neatly subdued the captain. Writer Ha completely collapsed and was exhausted by the cruel truth about the death of his own brother. He knelt down in extreme pain while Director Choi stood beside him, also burdened with grief. By the next morning, major newspapers simultaneously exposed the horrific series of crimes committed by the H-Song Corporation. Authorities also mobilized maximum resources to search for the missing prosecutor across the vast ocean. However, the search and rescue operation has yielded no results so far. In another development, the captain of Team A was quickly taken to the interrogation room for questioning. There, Director Choi continuously presented compelling evidence to force the killer to confess. Nevertheless, the criminal maintained a defiant expression and blamed it on his superiors, claiming he was only following orders. Hearing this, Director Choi questioned how the deceased military chairman could have given orders. The captain gave a mysterious smile and then declared that his superior could manipulate even Director Choi. He asserted that things certainly couldn't end here, making the entire case incredibly mysterious. Director Choi stepped outside, leaving Writer Ha to continue the conversation with the captain. Without beating around the bush, he only wanted to know one thing: whether his brother was alive or dead. Writer Ha also expressed his willingness to use the Adamas arrow to exchange for information about his brother. The captain hesitated at this point, unsure which the new owner would prefer. Meanwhile, at the villa, the housekeeper quietly returned after a long period of absence. This time, she came to see the current supreme power holder, her daughter-in-law. The next morning, the daughter-in-law held a large press conference in front of all the media. There, she did not deny the horrific scandals that the Hong Group had caused. She even blamed everything on the late chairman of the military. She declared emphatically that Hong would fully cooperate with the investigation, but in reality, the same corporation was secretly orchestrating all the investigations. During the board meeting, the daughter-in-law seized the opportunity to win over the shareholders. She received absolute support to secure the chairmanship of the corporation. Conversely, the chairman's second son was completely absent from the important meeting. The reason is that he was ordered by his powerful sister-in-law to be neatly dealt with by a female villain. As a result, he was poisoned, leading to him being bedridden and living in a vegetative state for the rest of his life. While the power struggle is shifting, the writer returns to the villa with a bag containing a damas in his hand. For most of the world, each diamond is a priceless treasure symbolizing supreme power. But for him, the most precious thing in the world no longer exists, because his beloved older brother now only lives on in his memories. UIN returned Adam, but in return, he requested that the captain be allowed to live to stand trial. He wanted the villain to face the harsh judgment of the law, and his daughter-in-law agreed. She coldly stated that after today, they would go their separate ways and have no further connection. But UIN calmly replied that they would certainly encounter each other again in the future. At that time, they would stand on opposing sides of the battlefield and no longer share a common goal. As soon as he left, the daughter-in-law immediately placed Adamas back in its original place of honor. However, what she didn't expect was that the treasure in her hands was only a counterfeit copy. because the real arrow was still carefully kept by the writer. At this moment, he unexpectedly received a mysterious letter with no sender's name. The contents of the letter confirm that the prosecutor is still alive. If the writer wants to see his brother again, he must bring the real Adamas arrow in exchange. The game revolving around the ambition for power, which seemed to have ended, unexpectedly turns into a new game. In this Game of Thrones, whoever holds Adamas in their hands will be the ultimate winner. To whom will the diamond arrow, the weapon that has driven so many mad, treacherous, and insane, ultimately belong? The film ends here. Thank you for watching and see you in other films.